Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching this. Okay, thank you for joining the Gaming Circle podcast. The podcast for this week, we have a full house, and we're going to get into it because it's going to be real fun. We're talking, you know what we're talking about. You've heard Halo showed up, so of course we're back again talking about how much we love and or hate it. We shall see. And to do it, as usual this week, I'm joined by my brother, Mr. Everborn Saga. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm quite all right. Just coming in hot off that Dune slander last night.
Oh, it's still it's in the bones, man. It's in the bones.
That was a barn burner, and I see you got this Wu-Tang game going on.
Oh yeah, we'll get into it.
I don't think I ever played this, so this is
hilarious. It is an artifact of its time, bro. I had to play it, so yes, we'll get into it.
But this is about Halo today.
Indeed.
Yes. I'm hyped.
And of course, we are joined by some special guests. First and foremost, I am so honored. Thank you once again for joining us from XBoxEra, Mr. OneBadMutha. How you doing, sir?
I am great this morning. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
With you here talking Halo, we're doing great. This is gonna be awesome.
It was one of those days, man. I was like, I really want to sleep in, but you put up the Halo bat signal, and it's, I come just like Bruce Wayne has to put on his outfit. Wait, Mr. Everborn doesn't like
beat up poor people. So
I was about to say, no, don't start that now.
Yeah. Pay your taxes, Bruce Wayne. A lot of this shit can be solved. But anyway,
see, there you go. That is a sneak peek of On the Reel. Come get some of that Batman slander if you so choose, right? And of course, we are also joined. If you've been playing around, if you've been listening to podcasts, if you're around the Mr. Boom show and just around these Twitter streets, as it were, this name is not too foreign to you, Mr. Drawn TJ, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Doing good, doing real good, K-Asante.
We appreciate you joining us. Now, real quick, so that everybody knows, this man is joining us on his vacation while podcasting from an Xbox. So good on you, good sir.
It's definitely doable. I mean, you just gotta have the tabs open, and as long as you don't close them, it works.
Fantastic. This is really interesting. I hope it continues to work, man. So yes, this week it should be fun. And thank you guys so much who already pulled up. Mr. Joy in the Dark is in here. Yesterday, that man was in rare form, and this morning I expect it should be the same. So
he came with the receipts.
He did. He came to represent and make sure nobody got things twisted. So we appreciate you, good sir. So yes, and of course, Pixel Bit is also in here. He heard Halo talk was happening, so there's just no way he's not gonna be in here.
Oh man, he might get a random link to join the show, but
he might. Yes, if he's interested, he might get a random link. Indeed, and of course, we have the Wandering Dutch, the man who has provided us such greatness in the morning when we start up our intro. Thank you once again, good sir, and welcome. Thank you for coming checking us out this morning. I see Big Bad Mo in here as well, so it's gonna get nice and steamy in here. Oh, and Gerald Mack also just popped in. Thank you very much. So let's get into it as we do with basically what we've been playing, and as you guys can see, I won't like keep you guys hostage with too much of this footage because, as I said, it is an artifact of its time. But I really did enjoy a little bit of the time that I got to play with this thing. It's really fun. So for those who don't know, this came up for me when we heard the report that Microsoft had greenlit a new team to work on a new Wu-Tang game. And I remembered, hey, I used to play this old Wu-Tang game called Wu-Tang Style. Now, this game was in its day, it's tried to be that Mortal Kombat-like game, right? And in doing so, it is bloody and also very pixelated and old school and full of stereotypes and an artifact of its time. So we'll play just a little bit of this to give y'all like a sense of what we're looking at.
It was a fighting game.
It's a fighting game, but wrapped in a, you walk in between the fights. You're like walking through the subway, you'll see it's very, very basic. And then you get to a place, and when you get to the battle, it's basically you're one versus maybe three or 1 versus 1, and it's just rounds. You'll see it. It ends up being a fighting game, and if you have all 4 controllers, you could make it a fighting game versus. But this is more of a campaign style. That was their version of it.
So the idea is there's a
Xbox, right? PS1. Okay.
Yeah, PS1. OG.
Man.
Yes.
OG.
I played it on my Retroid Pocket.
This is my first time seeing it.
Yes. But yes, it is an interesting artifact of its time. If you in any way, shape, or form like Wu-Tang music, you'll be right in here because they have some very interesting tracks that you have not heard anywhere else, but specifically from the game. So I thought it was real cool to just remind myself of where this all came from, But yes, we'll move quickly along, and I will also put some other games in there as we go along, as the podcast goes. But I'll also mention it real quick. Been playing Guardians of the Galaxy. That game is okay. First, I bought Far Cry 6, and I'm like, okay, well, we see this Halo stuff is really mimicking the Far Cry formula a little bit. And the last real game I put time into in the Far Cry series was Far Cry 3. So people are saying 6 is good. I started 6, 10 hours in. I can't stop. That game is amazing. I'm murking fools while at any moment when the music starts, I want to get up and start doing the salsa. It's amazing. It is so good. The culture is so good in that game. Anyway, then people go, hey, this Guardians of the Galaxy is just way better than it has any right to be. So I started playing that. It is so good.
Let me
except
ask you a
one
question.
thing. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Campaign, take all the forced game as a service stuff from Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
How much better or worse is it than just the Avengers campaign?
It is, I would say it is on par with the campaign. If you remove the multiplayer aspect from the Avengers from it, it is on par as far as a good story from the Marvel universe. And it is exactly Avengers. How you felt in Avengers is exactly how you will feel when you're watching Guardians. It's like, and I think Boom put it best in a tweet. It's almost like they hired James Gunn to come and pen this because it's just as funny, it's just as good. And I actually think James Gunn himself liked the tweet when Boom put it out there. So it is just as good. It's very well written, beautiful. I mean, wow, beautiful. But as soon as you turn on ray tracing on PC, for whatever reason right now, NVIDIA, the game crashes every 5 minutes. PCMR my ass.
Okay.
So you have to turn off ray tracing for the time being. Not everybody's reporting that, but my 3080 is not having a good time. So as soon as I turn it off, it's beautiful. When I turn it on, crash. But console people are having a good time with it. So, if you have a chance to, definitely play it. It's a single player. It's exactly what you want. Single player without any of the BS, without any of the microtransactions. It's exactly what you want. And it's a meaty single player too, from my understanding. Double-digit hours. So hopefully we'll get more time to play with that. So yes,
I would say it's almost what we want. I would have liked to see Eidos get a chance with their own IP using some of that talent.
Sure, I agree with you.
Maybe
it's
we'll
what we
get
wanted
that
from Marvel. What we wanted from that original Avengers, basically.
Well, OBM, maybe we'll get that when Microsoft acquires
Right.
It's Western.
We know
Studios.
that's in the cards.
Here we go. Here we go. Good morning.
Eidos would be a good pickup.
Yes,
let me ask you. IDOS, Crystal. Oh my God, this looks terrible.
Yes, it does.
But
wow,
artifact of its time, baby.
But the
This
question.
looks awesomely bad though. Like there's something.
It is an artifact of its time, bro.
Yeah.
See, look, now you're walking. You're walking in the subway.
I just lost all my hype for this supposed Microsoft.
Oh,
game
come on now. This is an artifact of its time.
No, the thing I was going to ask is the writing also looked really good in the Suicide Squad game. How would you compare the writing to that and Guardians of the Galaxy? Just from what you've seen.
It is like the best. Like I said, the best compliment I can give it is it's like James Gunn penned it himself. It really is good. Hilarious, snarky in the right manner. Like and you know what? I'll even do one better than Avengers because they got right what Avengers got wrong. They really didn't even try to mimic the faces of the movies. So it's their own thing rather than is that really when you squint, is that really Thor? No, this is their own guy, right? The only thing that I would have wanted, you want a 10 out of 10 for me? Come on, people, stop being cowards. Give me that Star-Lord T'Challa skin and let's get it going. That's what I need right now. It's the only part of the puzzle I wanted. Because yes, Star-Lord looks a little generic. When you start playing him, you forget about all that. It's very funny. It's very good. They do a good job. But, add Chris Judge in there. Put T'Challa in there. We've seen What If. Come on, make it a DLC.
But you didn't like Chris Judge's T'Challa.
I'd rather that than what we have now.
Okay.
It seems like the writing is way better in Guardians of the Galaxy than when I saw the Suicide Squad game. Personally,
it seems that way. Yeah, but we haven't really seen the Suicide Squad game really come to fruition, so we can't really speak to it 100% like that. But from what we're looking at, you're absolutely right. It does look like they really took it there with the writing in the Suicide in the Avengers Guardians of the Galaxy game. So we'll see where it goes, for now. But I've been talking too much about what I've been playing. OBM, what's been keeping you busy this week?
Well, look, I feel like I'm setting myself up to take the show off the rails here. So after the whole WB thing, I've had the Batman series in my backlog probably for years. Actually, I had Arkham Asylum in my backlog on the 360. Never played it. I think I played it like an hour. Never really got into it. I've always had this thing against licensed games. Not that. I think it's some of it's subconscious. You grow up on licensed games. You're just kind of predispositioned to kind of assume that they're going to be generic or just trash. Not that exciting. So I've never delved into them. I've heard that all these games, the combat's been based off of it, and then after watching the WB show, it got me a little bit hyped, and I'm like, all right, let me just give this a shot. So I beat Asylum City, and now I'm on the Arkham Knight, and nice. The combat in that thing is just kind of hooked me more than anything. It's the
standard, right? It's become the standard. It's so good.
It is. Yeah. So even if you're not a Batman fan, that just the gameplay alone has got me pretty addicted. The other thing I've been playing is Halo Wars 2, and the reason for that is because we got this
trying to catch up with this Atriox story.
That's exactly what that was about. And I was talking to one of my friends actually from our own podcast, our Halo podcast, and I was because I'm not the book reader. He is. Some of the other guys in the show are, and I'm like, all right, what stories do I need to get caught up on for this game? And he recommended, well, go ahead and watch all the
videos stitched
the
together.
videos for Halo Wars 2. And I'm like, you know what? This is another game that's just been in my backlog forever. So let me just go ahead and start playing this thing. So I started to do that. And I tell you what, at the end of Halo 5 Guardians, I thought, man, that they were in. I felt like the story it felt like it jumped the shark at that moment. I was like, I don't know how they were going to come back from this. It was one of those things where unless you're going to make this some dream sequence that never happens, like how are you going to recover from this mess?
Okay, and I got to ask you a question about the ending. I always felt like, and just catch up my memory because I beat this game in 2015. Okay. I felt like the game almost ended on like how Dune ended, right? Like it didn't really end.
Oh, I didn't watch Dune yet. I'm saving that because my daughter.
Well, it's only they only go by the. I'm not spoiling it, but they only. It's called Part 1 because they only do the first half of the first book.
Okay,
right. So it's not really a cliffhanger, but it seems like it's been building up to this moment, and then it ends with Halo 5. So you get to Halsey, and she basically says, "Took you long enough." And then it's kind of over.
Yep.
Right? The whole thing is get to Halsey.
Yep.
So refresh my memory as to, because I always felt like, okay, there's clearly going to be like a follow-up, maybe not a full-on sequel, but a follow-up to this in like a year. And then it never came.
Right.
So remind me of the ending why you say it jumped the shark. I didn't feel like it jumped the shark. I just felt like there was no real ending.
I just thought the whole thing was convoluted, and I thought the whole evil Cortana thing was a bit.
It went too far,
overboard.
Yeah, I you know what? It's a little bit early. I didn't sleep very good in my dictionary. My thesaurus is kind of lacking right now. But like that angle's been done to death. The whole AI turns bad, right? And I just thought pigeonholing that into Halo, trying to make Master Chief some misunderstood. Is he machine? Is he human? Trying to make him like this complex. And they didn't land that from any standpoint. I always thought Halo was at its best when Master Chief was just some badass comic book hero, basically. And you kind of build up the characters around him, right? Like that was, to me, that worked. And then you're Master Chief and you're just like some badass in this universe. I really didn't think that anything they did with the characters made sense. I thought a lot of the characters had potential. Like if you'd actually heard some of the backstory in Locke, there's actually some depth there they never brought into the games. And that was one of the other issues, is like from, you really had to read the comics and, you had all the supporting materials to kind of get what was going on. And then the whole Guardians thing in general, like all the conveniences and stuff like that. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling, but I just didn't think the Halo 5 story was good from any standpoint, not the self-contained aspect. And even if you bring in the other stuff, I thought it was just a little bit messy, and it was just kind of all over the place. A lot of conveniences, a lot of to me, what you would call lazy, I don't know, like shortcuts, lazy writing, stuff like that. Like, oh, we're going to conveniently land on this planet to save the universe out of all, every planet. It's like, I mean, at least in Star Wars, you knew there was a Force. In Halo, what was your poll here? But like that. Yeah, it was a bit messy, and so I was very negative on that, and I was like, I still play Halo for the gameplay. Still the classics all worked for me. I put in over 2,000 hours of the Halo 5 multiplayer, but I felt like I gave up on the story then. But going back now and looking at the Halo Wars 2 and how they kind of, I don't want to say they retcon anything or they say nothing exists, but what they done is they did a soft. It's like a reboot of sorts. They don't tell you what happens right after Halo 5, which I'm okay with. They leave a lot of mystery there. They bring in a new baddie, and now we're going to go to this, this ring, in the next one, which is going to have a lot. There's a lot of backstory there, a lot of mystery
ring.
Yeah, and so I think in a way, what they've done is they've soft rebooted the story, and it's almost like the tone of it is very CE,
where you kind of combat evolved, very much so. Yeah, you can feel that.
Yeah. So you can kind of feel that, but I would say, for anybody that is where I've been.
The infinite.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk about it.
Give Halo 2 a try is what I would say. So if anybody here it feels the same way about the story that I did, I hear the Halo Wars 2 campaign is not that long, or you can just go ahead and watch it.
That is a good question, Beast Mode. Yeah. Is Halo Wars 2 on Steam? I know the Halo Master Chief Collection is, but is the Halo
Wars 1 is?
One is. I don't think is 2 on Steam. That's unusual. You think that's an oversight they would have corrected while the story lines up directly to Infinite? That's an interesting question. That should be addressed. Anyway, you're absolutely right there. So okay,
that was long-winded.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Awesome.
Halo requires full explanation at all times.
Yeah, I got to give you a backstory. There, every time I'm touching something Halo, I got to give you a backstory.
That's right. The whole deal. It needs to be defined. Never regret giving us.
That was better explained than Halo 5 story, but
Wow.
Oh man. And how about you, Drawn TJ? What have you been playing this week?
I've been playing Far Cry 6 actually, and I'm actually enjoying the game. I was actually hesitant whether or not to get it because all the Far Cries have been feeling the same, and the last one I enjoyed was 3, and I was like, 4 didn't feel like it, Primal didn't feel like it, 5 didn't feel like it, and my friend finally convinced me. He got me to cave in, so I bought 6, tried it. Graphics are amazing. Gameplay is amazing. It feels like Far Cry 3 with better graphics and better gameplay. I love it.
Yeah, I have footage over here that I'll play in a moment. I've actually been caught by the Far Cry bug myself. And oddly enough,
15.
I I have one of those expansion cards for my Xbox. So I have the Series S little man. Shout out to the Iron Lords. I have little man here in the corner, and then I have the big guy in the living room. And it doesn't matter where I play it. I just plug the card in here, and up here I'm playing. And I've been playing the whole time on Series S, and I've loved it. Like the footage is actually from Series S that you'll see in a bit. I absolutely love it. It's so much fun, and I don't care that it's obviously you can see the graphics get downgraded, it stepped down, but moment to moment is so much. Yeah, not by a lot at all. Moment to moment is so much fun. I'm having like a great time with it. Actually, you know what? On that note, I have made you guys suffer through the pixelation. Now let's show you what next gen really looks like. Because this guy,
this has been fun, honestly.
It's an artifact. It really is an artifact.
Some of it's like watching a train wreck, but that's entertaining too.
It's always fun to note how pixel art and these 2D games, 16-bit era stuff,
how they traverse over
stands this test of time. But 3D, we always end up in this uncanny valley, and it's so crazy because our eyes perceive those graphics at the time as so amazing.
Yes.
But years later, you look at it like, how could you have looked at that like it looked like anything other than Legos?
Now, imagine 10-year-old Kwesi playing that game, right? And then showing him this like, wow, the graphics in this game are absolutely insane in comparison. Now, you're watching this. This is a PC footage. 3080, so it's really cranked up. It's decent. For those who did not hear, I had to turn off ray tracing at some point because it would make the game crash. PC people, get your acts together. Well, this is probably Nvidia's problem anyway, but it'll get sorted.
This is specifically Slow-Mo's problem. But go ahead.
Everborn, you know what's even crazier about these graphics or this jump in graphics is the fact that our kids don't appreciate them. My kid. He's almost 13. He plays Minecraft. He plays, Roblox. And Fortnite Builder. And
that's a very important point, and I think that we, as people who came the sort of hardcore, quote unquote, the PC guys, the guys who came up on consoles, the guys who play the Halos and the CODs and the Avengers and Spider-Mans and God of Wars. My kids don't give a shit about any of these graphics, right? They are gamers through and through. But if I show you the mobile games that they play, like the thousands of hours that they will put into Genshin Impact or Minecraft or Animal Crossing, it's only us like 40-year-old men that are looking at this, and I think we kind of get scared that everything's gonna go in this mobile direction because that's what our kids are playing, and then they don't have that distinction. Like they have to be like really tuned in to want to pick up a controller. Like it's I think the market like is safe of 250 million console gamers and however many PC gamers, like hardcore PC gamers, because they count you as a PC gamer if you play solitaire. But that market is what it is. But I wonder, as we kind of age out of it and die off, what will it be, right? Yeah. What will our kids and their kids?
It's a good point, and this goes to all and we have our over 40-year-old buddies, still fighting over who's got more pixels on their favorite plastic box and their spaces and all that stuff. Indeed.
I'm 26.
Look at these children. I also hear them complain about the focus on cloud and stuff. That's why, and this is a totally separate topic, but that's why that stuff's important, because what that's going to do is open up this kind of core gamer experience to the rest of the world, areas that don't have access to it. And what it's going to do is, I think it's going to re-emphasize some of the importance of this market or broaden this market. And that's important because to your point, that today's kids aren't really going to fulfill, like if if any of us start to die off, these kids aren't going to necessarily fill that void. I think with what
they're not going any further because Roblox is fine.
Maybe if you can let them take it with them on the go, put it on their phones, that could change things, and that's the importance of that.
Indeed. Yep. So yeah, the folks who've been asking, Beast, I think I sent that to you. Wu-Tang Shaolin Style was a 1999 game. It came out in 99. Yes, and what you're watching right now is Guardians of the Galaxy, and we'll get to some other footage soon. So I've been playing this. I've been enjoying it. I think it's very interesting. It is better writing than I thought it would be. It's quite interesting. It's very good. It runs well on PC for the most part, except for a few people who are having ray tracing issues, which I suspect there'll be a driver update to fix that sooner rather than later.
Well, I'll tell you what.
We'll transition to what you've been playing, sir. Go ahead. Tell us.
Yeah, so I was always on board with this game because as soon as they said, okay, Square Enix is making it, I know it's not Crystal Dynamics, but close enough. It's one of the Western
Appreciate
studios.
The full dynamics.
But another studio Microsoft is going to buy. But
there we go.
But I was already on board because you told me Avengers, but with no game as a service. And I was good. I was already on board. A lot of people they were worried because of Avengers, but if you played the Avengers, anyone who played I know it's easy to say the Avengers game was trash, but if you played the campaign,
it's not at all.
It's high quality, it's what you want.
Yep, and I was surprised. It was actually decent. Yeah.
I think if someone else made it, people would have been all over it. But that's another discussion. And we know who the someone is. Now, but all that being said, I am not going to buy this. And I'm going to tell you why. Not yet. I'm going to follow my own. No, it has nothing to do with Game Pass. I'm going to follow my own advice for once, right? I started playing Kana, and I loved it. And then the Halo Flight came out, and I put it down. And then Comic-Con happened, right? And then I was recovering from Comic-Con. Right, and then Far Cry 6 comes out, and then I download that.
So you're going back to Kana,
and then people tell me, "Oh, check out Echo Generation," right? And Forza's coming out next week.
Yep.
Right. So between the games that I've bought for full price, Kana, Far Cry 6, and I'm playing what do you call it on Game Pass, Echo Generation. I know that this will be another one that I buy and do not play
until
backlog.
Right.
Until Game Pass.
Right.
So, and then there's Backbone, which I also need to put on the list.
Right. And so it is either going to come to Game Pass or it will drop down by 50% by the time I'm ready to play it.
Yep.
So I'm just going to wait. It's not that I don't want to play it.
Right. You're absolutely right.
It looks great. But it makes no sense for me to buy it right now at full price.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, I'll say real quick, Mr. Joanna Dark hooked me up. I wasn't going to buy it, but then he told me of the GOG deal, Green Man Gaming deal, which brought this down considerably. I was like, all right, sold. So I was going to wait like you, and then I heard the deal. I'm sorry. Go ahead, OBM.
No, I was gonna say Everborn. I'm on the same wavelength as you with that stuff, and I don't care what they say, what they yell about on Twitter about buying games. Spend your support the multi-billion-dollar publisher.
Yeah, that's right.
What are they worth?
Forget about your kids' college fund. You got to support the devs.
The Square Enix, Square Enix makes. I think they're worth. What are they worth? Probably like $15 billion, something like that. They're fine. Yeah. They'll be fine. Yeah. And they'll sell they'll sell the developer to Microsoft afterwards. That'll be fine. But yeah, but I'm in the same boat as you now because like I was just telling you, I've really been trying to hit that backlog hard, especially before Forza, and then more specifically Halo, because once Halo comes out,
it's over.
Backlog's going to stop. Yeah, it's.
No, I'm not playing anything in December except Halo. Forget about it. Anything that doesn't get done this month, we can talk about it in February.
When the co-op shows up, right?
Right. No. I'm gonna go from Halo to Horizon. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. No,
Like-
I'm right there with you. 100%. Yeah. So is that everything you've been playing so far, sir?
Echo Generation,
Mm-hmm.
and Far Cry. I only like turned it on
Mm-hmm.
because my lady is a Latina, and I wanted
Do
her
not
to
turn
see.
it on, bro. If you turn it on, you will not stop playing it. The music,
Well-
you'll start dancing. I'm telling you.
Well-
Oh man,
Well, hey man, listen,
it is so good. You'll
I
start
got
dancing.
it so I could play it in front of her, hoping she would get something.
She
from
will
it.
approve. Trust me. not when they start like and well, this is not a tangent. Not when they start invoking themes that really matter and cultural significance while your croc is eating people. That's a little bit insensitive. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of that in there.
Is the
But
game still like is Ubisoft still against making
any kind of real
any
statement?
political? Yeah.
Yes. They are habitual line pushers. They don't
You know
step
what
the line.
you
They
know what I
get to the line.
find hilarious?
Mm.
Everybody's mad at Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog for making a statement about something,
Mhm.
right? Why are you putting politics in games? Even though it's not really politics, it's just that these people exist
Mhm.
and they want it to be politics. But whatever, we'll ignore that.
Yeah.
And then you're mad at Ubisoft for being bland and not saying anything.
And
So
not
which
saying
one do
nothing.
you want? Do you
Mm.
want them to leave it
Yeah.
out like Ubisoft?
Those who
Or
say
do you want them
something,
to
you
say
say no.
something that may make you uncomfortable?
Indeed. You're right. But I will say, I do side with those who say what they're doing here is a bit insensitive, because it is. It is. But the world they create, I mean, my wife was used to be a salsa instructor. So she, she's not a gamer. She hears this thing in the background. She's like, what are you doing? She comes over and listens to the mute. It is amazing. It is such a, like, they built that world so well. It's just, while you're running around being zany and crazy, there's literally Cuban Revolution. Let's be real. Cuban Revolution happening all around you. Respect the material. But okay, we won't go that far because that'll get a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So, like,
Square
let's switch
Enix
gears
is
a
worth
bit.
10 billion, by the way.
What do they worth?
Okay.
2 billion?
10 billion.
Oh, 10 billion.
It says over 2 billion, but I looked at how much they've sold copy wise of
Mhm.
games.
Mhm.
They're
Oh,
worth
okay.
about 10 billion altogether.
10 billion
All of
altogether.
Square
Okay.
Enix. All of
Yeah,
That's
it.
so
when
it'll
you
be
look
fine.
at their market cap.
So we're not worried about like their executives eating.
Yeah, they'll be good. They're
Yeah.
good. They'll be able to eat.
I'll wait for it to come to Game Pass.
They'll eat for a little while.
Also-
Don't worry about it.
Easy,
Also-
easy buy from Microsoft.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Right in the price range.
Uh-huh. And they wouldn't be buying the whole thing, just the Western division, which is not worth 10 billion.
Right? No.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
They're
cheaper.
they're not worth that much at all right now.
Yeah.
They're-
So,
they-
okay,
they
let's-
actually lost some money, but yeah, that different.
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I thought they did, right? With all the bets they made with Marvel and a few of those things, right?
Yeah,
And
they didn't-
Outriders and things like that. Yeah. So okay, let's switch gears because I do before we get into this crazy Halo talk. And by the way, thank you so much all the folks that have joined. If you have not, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I have been told that I need to do that more to market this channel so that people can actually see it and find it. So please, if you haven't and you do, we appreciate it. We're also now on Twitch, oddly enough. I figured, I have a Twitch
Are
account,
we?
why not broadcast it live? So what's up, Twitch people?
See,
Appreciate
I did not know that. Hey,
Yes,
you know what?
awesome.
Though? I do.
Yes.
I want to give a shout out
Mhm.
to everyone. This is completely unrelated, but
Oh yeah, speak.
we launched the preview page
Mhm.
for the new
Kickstarter,
Kickstarter
yes.
that we're doing for the Redlands,
I was
the new
first, bro.
Everborn series.
I was
I
first.
appreciate you, sir. And when I tell you 75 people retweeted that, it hit me in the fields. And I
The
thank
community's
everybody
awesome, man. The
that
community
saw it and spread the word out. So
Yeah. You
thank
guys
you
are great.
everyone for
Continued
that.
success. Keep pushing them because
And
man, when he rises, we rise. So let's do it together. Come on now.
Right. We will all be invited to the launch party when we get this
There you go.
Netflix deal. But if you can, I just want to remind everybody, go there and click on the watch link. Even if you're not going to support the campaign,
Yep.
it helps the algorithm
Mhm.
to what's it called?
Surface
When
yeah.
it launches. So the more people watching it, the higher it will be up when the campaign goes live on November 7th. So if you all could do me that favor, and I will post the
And
link.
we'll say it again at the bottom
chat
of the
here.
show for anybody who forgets. Please, let's push this man over the edge. You'll hear him on ILP.
I'll watch it.
We'll
I'll
get it
help
all
you out.
done. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, and for those who are asking, I will put the Twitch chat in the link, the Twitch link in the chat. I should say Twitch chat.
Yes,
So,
because closed mouths don't get fed, as they
Don't
say.
get fed,
So
indeed,
I'm
indeed.
just asking kindly, everyone, please click that follow the campaign link. It won't cost you anything. It's just it just
to put it on the
notifies you when
radar.
we go live.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. Yep. So okay, let's transition from what we've been playing, and as you see, you'll see some bad gameplay from me. That's always guaranteed. And we'll switch to some of the gaming news of the week that we thought have been making the rounds. I only picked a couple that I thought were interesting. As usual, my panelists, please feel free to drop something in if you think that I may not have covered something you wanted to talk about. But just lightly, before we get into this whole Halo conversation, which we're here for, I kind of wanted to chat a little bit about, and we'll start with some somber news, but I think it's kind of important to have this conversation. This is PAX South has been canceled for the foreseeable future. Now, all these titles literally come from titles of articles. I will link the articles in our show notes if you want to read them fully. PAX was going to be held in Texas this year, as they want to do, PAX South, and now it is basically canceled indefinitely due to what they say, COVID issues. So, and for those who don't know, I live in the South. I live in Florida, but it's a problem out here, y'all.
Yeah.
For those who think that it was a thing that came and went, those of us with kids are still quarantined like it was the first day, because my child, I cannot afford to have that befall my child. So we act like we're still literally quarantined in our homes, and every decision when we go anywhere is very, very calculated. So PAX
I want
to
add a little bit to this.
Mm-hmm.
And if could we just take that thing off the bottom?
You want people to see your face? Is that what you want? Oh, my bad.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. No. So the thing is, so two things about this. In New York, where there's a good amount of vaccinated people, and I think it does have something to do with the I guess the demographics of that locale, right? Because in New York, when we just did Comic-Con, right, it was the largest gathering in New York since the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow.
And it required, and it required vaccination for entry. If you were above 12, you needed to be vaccinated, or you could not attend, not just as a vendor like me, but just as a fan. And when I tell you the amounts of it was just as busy as any year I've been there.
That's awesome.
So, and I thought part of it, I think, was people just kind of really wanted to get out, like pent up demand and things like that.
Yeah.
But so there's that. And then as far as quarantining, I've my whole household is vaccinated except for my 11-year-old. But we'll fix that in February when she's 12.
Yeah. Yes.
But my lady and I, this is apart from my day job as a software engineer and my night job as a comic book creator. My lady and I run a daycare, and so we just get all the germs, all of them.
Yeah.
There's no kids don't cover their mouths. They just it's pretty bad.
Indeed.
So
and expecting them to be responsible for wearing masks or covering their mouths, you've already failed that mission.
Not gonna happen.
Just by thinking that it's gonna fail. So
it's I just have to let Jesus take the wheel, and I'm an agnostic. So.
Well, I put this news story. We don't have to go too far into it because I know it can get a little testy on certain sides, but I just put the story out there to let folks know this is still happening. We out here, and we want to go to PAX, damn it. We want to have Everborn come down to Everborn.
Maybe if more people in that region were vaccinated.
Exactly. That's what I'm speaking of.
Because the people in that region probably don't want to that requirement. They might feel like it's
of vaccinated to non-vaccinated is very, very high. It's upside down.
I think another part of it, though, is forget about who's vaccinated and who's not. A lot of people didn't like that as a requirement. And I'm talking about people in New York was like, how dare you, Comic-Con or
No, I hear you. But it's a requirement because either we do that or we can't have nice things. And here we are. We can't have nice things now. You know, so I'm just speaking from a dude who's out here who would love to go to PAX, who would love to hear that Comic-Con Tampa comes out and my band Everborn can come join us, and that'd be awesome. But that may not happen because we out here and these things are getting canceled left and right because people aren't taking it seriously enough.
If that does happen, I got to sleep at your house. Just FYI,
hey bro, I got room, baby. It's
I can't come down there, pay for hotels and all these other things.
It's all good, brother. I have
just
room.
letting you know.
I have extra. There'll be couches. There'll be rooms. It's all good, my man. You are always welcome. So yes, that is the first story of the day. Oh yeah, that is the first story of the day. And you know, again, I'm not trying to make it a thing because I know people get a little testy, which you know it is what it is. But I want nice things, you know. So please, if you can, go get vaccinated. Yeah, and I'm even talking to my brother. Like my brother is one of those people who I'm talking to. So please, go get vaccinated. Anyway, moving swiftly along, we will now talk about some other interesting things that have been happening. Actually, this leads to another interesting conversation. PlayStation has come out and basically said that with their recent acquisitions, right, their full workforce of developers have now grown almost 20%, and they're obviously planning to continue investing. Right now, I put this
organic.
There's the man. There you go. I put this out here because I suspected this would lead into that conversation of organic growth. Right? They're growing. And why are they growing? I think they're growing because they see Microsoft and they're going, yo, we can't sit idly by while these dudes are snapping up these big studios, you know. And I, for one, think it's a great idea that they staff up, that they add more to their ranks, that they, you know, because of I think Beast Mode, the comment you were looking for was all natty, but I'll allow it. Well done, good sir. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. What do you think of this, OBM? I'm sure this has hit your radar. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing is sensible, honestly. Like I've talked to some other people about this, and you know, I don't think Jim Ryan's necessarily the best communicator. You know, he's kind of put his foot in his mouth a few times, but I do think he has, from what I'm seeing from a distance, you know, not knowing all the inner workings of Sony, I think he has the right business plan. He understands where the market's going. It is interesting because, you know, I always, you know, a lot of Japanese companies or, you know, companies that are based in Japan are very conservative. They don't necessarily try to jump ahead and be in the forefront of trends and things like that. And so I always assumed Sony would just be very slow into this whole paradigm change. I think he's being a little bit more aggressive than, than maybe some of the traditionalists want him to be, but it's a smart thing. Like you know, as somebody that's, you know, I've been Xbox. I have all the platforms, but I've been Xbox is my primary one for 20 years, really since it launched. And I would say, you know, like when they made that decision in 2015 that they're going to start trying to go everywhere, I was actually cheering that move, seeing where they had kind of fallen to up to that point, because the broader your audience is, the more risks you can take, the wider variety that you can have in your portfolio. Really, it makes you more competitive. And what it does is it actually indirectly, and directly comes right back around to that primary platform you like to play on, you know, the console. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, all the decisions they're making, they seem to be the right ones. And I think going to the PC, the sooner they can figure out how to bring their content there to the PC, the stronger their company is going to be. Because I honestly don't think that they can be like, they can be number one in consoles, you know, maybe until consoles, you know, say 20 years. Like they can be number one in consoles for a long, long time. But that doesn't mean being number one in consoles doesn't mean being number one in, or even competing for the top of the house in gaming in 10 years, you know, and maybe not even 10 years. So it's really branching out. And if you are, and you already saw like Tencent already, you know, has they've just kind of secret or quietly crawled up to be the top of that, and it's really going to be in the future where things just become more of an app. You have to start establishing yourself now. If you try to wait until that's the market, then you're going to be playing catch up, and then you will be like Nintendo was back with the where they were with the GameCube and things like that. Like if you just are trying to start to chase afterwards, you'll
end up like Windows Phone is what you're saying.
Not Windows Phone. I don't think the thing I will say that I don't see
best
Sony
mobile
ever,
operating system of all time. Go ahead.
Indeed.
Maybe behind the Palm OS.
Maybe behind Palm. Exactly. You see why he and I connect, right?
I don't see Sony ever becoming like a Blockbuster. Like I've heard people kind of throw that stuff out there. I don't see them ever becoming. They have a brand power that I think the thing like a Blockbuster was just a distribution chain. It wasn't something that had own content or own brands that people that was part. I mean, the experience was part of nostalgia, but I think there wasn't like any content they owned that was part of nostalgia. So that's the thing, that they're always going to have that. They have IPs and things like that. They'll continue to exist, but I would say like the further Microsoft places themselves the way they are, and you just don't know with like Amazon. I mean, Amazon is literally just saying, "Oh, hey, we're going to start throwing this stuff part of Amazon Prime," and all of a sudden, and get a few things that hit, and suddenly they're relevant, right? They throw those things on.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
It took one IP. It took one IP with Microsoft. Without Halo, I hear somebody chewing.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
It's all good. It took one IP with Halo for Xbox to get on the map, right? So that's how quickly things can change. You see what happened with Epic. Epic was, what was Epic? They were a game engine, right? And they let Gears of War go to Microsoft, and then they released a AA game that
people did
partially
a lot,
failed.
man. They were Unreal, the first person shooter Unreal. They were out there for a while,
and now they're a powerhouse
until Fortnite and all that. True,
yeah.
But they've been out there for a while.
No, they've been out there for a while, but now they're a different kind of powerhouse.
Yeah,
right,
100%.
Because of a game that released and they copied.
And half the industry's games are built on their engines.
Yes. So it's become a whole different ballgame. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
The point is, things can change quick. I guess that's my long-winded. When I'm tired, I get long-winded. So
you're not long-winded at all.
But that's my long-winded way of saying that things can change extremely fast. They are changing fast. 5 years from now, we're going to start to see this market is going to be very different. And Sony's making the right decisions. And I think even if you value the console, you're a core gamer, you should be happy that they're trying to compete and expand, because it's going to allow them to diversify, take more chances, and even double down on the things that they've been really good at, which they are doing.
So well, hold on real quick. Let me hit our other guests real quick here. TJ, so as a consumer, now I'm not sure how much experience you have with PlayStation more. I know you're really big on Xbox. Do you game ever on PlayStation?
I used to have a PlayStation 3. Well, no, PlayStation 4 I actually had. But
you haven't gotten the 5
but
yet,
no. I grew up playing PlayStation actually. I used to be a big PlayStation fan. PC and then PlayStation. And then I joined Xbox, and once I played Halo, man, I was hooked, and I just never left Xbox. Yeah,
understood. So as a user who used to be all PlayStation and now you're focused more on Xbox, now I find it interesting because I want your opinion on this, because with the conversations of and now you have God of War coming to PC, people are up in arms, this and that. As you've been in the Xbox camp for a while now. What was your opinion when they started talking about, we're now going to be everywhere? Your Xbox will be a portal into the platform that is our ecosystem, whether that be Game Pass or whatever. And in addition to that, now obviously PlayStation is following suit. Is there any negative, like as a consumer of this stuff, is there any side of this that you see and go, no, I don't want them to do that because it might affect something in a negative way? What is your opinion when you hear this kind of news?
No, it's totally absurd if anybody thinks it's negative in a way, because look at it like this as a way of thinking, because you guys, you have kids, you want to save money. Imagine like when, like remember 15, 20 years ago how it was hard to buy a game
Sure.
because it was
People forget
expensive
the
back
cartridges
then
was
too.
like almost $100 back in the
Yeah.
day.
Well, yeah, that's my point. So, and you were locked to one box or one device or one mobile device or your PC. I've always dreamed of, like, when I was younger, way younger, like 5, 6, 7 years old, I always dreamed, why can't I take my purchases wherever I want? I paid for the damn thing. I should be able to play it on my PC. I should be able to play it on my PlayStation, my Xbox, my phone, wherever I want. Because I paid for it. I paid for it with hard-earned cash. But that never came to fruition until recently, thanks to Xbox. And I'm glad we got Phil Spencer for doing that. Now, Sony, I really hope they go through with all of it, and I hope they go day and date, because you know what? It just shows that they care more about the fans and not about the plastic boxes. And
and I'll even go there with you. Even in a cynical view, they'll get more of the monies if they go day and date.
Yeah.
They just will.
Yeah, nothing's going to take. Like, I know, like, we always talk about, like, people say, well, companies being greedy. Just FYI, they're all greedy.
They're all about the monies.
Every boardroom, none of them give a
F
what we think in Spaces or on Twitter or even on these podcasts. And so that's the thing you got to think about. They're always going to be chasing that stuff.
Well, PC wins at the end of the day because you get both. You got Game Pass and you got Steam. So,
but that's what. Yeah, and that's where the market's going. Like most newer consumers, they don't go like if you play too hard to get, they're not going to come for you. Like,
because there are other options out there. Yeah,
there is. They just like the convenience factor, the accessibility and convenience is almost. I was talking to somebody who's a developer for a pretty large publisher, actually, and she was even saying, like, we saw some of the decisions that were made by like let's say EA, right? When they moved over to over to Steam, and what they ended up realizing is that people play where they want to play before they go for your game. And once you're there, like, you think about that, like, I mean, that EA store and Steam are literally you're talking about an app on the same damn thing, and they still had to give in. They still had to give in because people want to play where they want to play. And if you're not going to meet, they're not going to play. If you try to play hard to get or say you got to come over here, like, oh, you know what? There's plenty over here. I don't need to.
Isn't that amazing? Like, OBM, what you're putting, that is so amazing, right? They are somehow able to convince you every 4 or 5 years to buy it. Well, more than that, but to buy with the mid-gen refresh, to buy other hardware to play the games you want. But on the PC side, they can't even convince people to install an app, a free app on their damn PC.
And it's even crazier than that. There are people that have Game Pass that know they could use the Windows Store to download these games, but they'll still go and buy them from Steam.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the sales of Age of Empires right now. It's
but the ridiculousness. Go ahead, Everboard.
This is the argument as to why people keep saying, buy Take-Two, buy Capcom, buy whoever. I want them to buy Sega, but Steam, if they were able to get Steam, that is a nail in coffin, right? But another thing about PC, a lot of people say, well, the barrier of entry and the cost in terms of cost.
We got to dispel that.
I want to put something together, though, right? If we do get to a day where PC is day and date, if you were to buy a Switch, a PS5, and an Xbox, you're spending $1,300. Right? You spend $1,300, you got a PC that can play all of them.
Yes, indeed.
So that's one thing to bear in mind. Now, in terms of
so what are your thoughts on this whole PlayStation? We're acquiring, we're growing organically, of course, but we're doing it aggressively.
It sounds like they're scared, to be honest.
I don't think it's scared. I just think it's preparing yourself for the future. And I've brought this up before in one of the spaces I was in, and I've talked to you about this. Mr. Asante. Why do people call you by your last name all the time? Does that bother you?
Not at all, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey.
Amazing name.
But if we look at how the Epic v Apple or Apple v Epic case went, and
the fallout from it,
right. The ruling was that because Apple is allegedly a general computing device, but they basically locked down their stores, and now they're saying that people who publish applications on this lockdown store, if they have their own payment methods, they should be able to use those, right? And you can't put restrictions around it to say you have to have price parity with what we charge if you charge outside and all those things, right? And the other lockdown store that comes to mind are these video game ecosystem stores.
Indeed.
Now, what if one day someone tries to use the Apple versus Epic case as precedent to
go already set the precedent for sure.
Right. And take that away. And remember, and I'm bringing this up because most of the money that Microsoft and Sony makes are off of the 30% cut they take from the store for third-party software and microtransactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they use their first-party content, specifically Sony, to bring people into their ecosystem, which is closed, and now they can leverage that ecosystem for people to buy things from the store, and they will make money. So they spend a lot of money on these things, but you could look at God of War and Horizon as basically advertising, right? Yep. Bring you and the only reason to have the box is to have that closed ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Now, should the day ever come where they're no longer allowed to do that, and EA and Ubisoft and whoever else, obviously the little guys will still use their 30%, but the bigger publishers, the Take-Twos and those guys, if they no longer have to pay that 30% the 30% VIG that they play to Microsoft and Sony, what becomes the business model then? And that means, as opposed to using your content to draw people in, you have to push your content out to people,
out to everywhere else.
And you can't do that by locking them to a single
box or even
box.
Yes,
right?
That's where Netflix comes in. It's everywhere you want it to be, so they can get you wherever you happen to live. Absolutely,
now, accessibility. Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. So now I'm not saying like Sony and Microsoft are going to become third-party publishers. I'm not saying that.
No.
I am thinking.
But let's be clear here. Phil has already telegraphed it, right? Every exclusive game they have will be where Game Pass lives. Now, where does Game Pass live? The future is bright. You shall see. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Wherever it
anywhere it's welcome.
Well, I've said this too. I mean, for people that were really bummed about the fact that Starfield's going to be exclusive. Basically, it's exclusively not locally on a box, is what it is. But really, when it launches, especially you assume another year, they can start to mature the cloud thing more often. It's probably not even going to be a super latency sensitive game, at least in certain modes. And that is something that somebody can pick up their DualShock or their DualSense controller, and they'll be able to go on an app on their TV or computer and play with their PlayStation controller for a buck.
And maybe if their PlayStation had a damn browser, they could play on the PS5. But
right, it does have a browser. It does have a browser. It's just hidden. I've been this close to getting Game Pass on that thing. I've been using proxy servers, bro.
Are they blocking it? Are they blocking it?
Yes. They're blocking. The Switch also has a browser. It's also kind of hidden in the background. Yes.
So I don't mean to hijack your show, but I think this sort of dovetails into some of the other news of the week, right? Like we had the Jazz leaks, right? The Project Belfry, the Wu-Tang thing, which is why we had the video at the beginning.
Indeed,
and these crazy and we're hearing about some of these crazy these games that you would have never have seen Microsoft consider 5 years ago, right? Like green lighting underneath that. And that's and the reason why they're doing this right now is that the more accessible you make your platform, and the broader the audience, you kind of we even heard Sean Layden, he went on the show Persona, and Jabari was talking about, hey, it's the same base every generation. It's basically the same 250 million, same gamers. We're making the same games for the same gamers every time.
Phil Spencer said the same thing like a month prior, but
yeah. And that's what I'm saying, though. But and it's kind of pointed coming from the person that's part of that really traditional models still, and that people are fighting for. Yeah. And what it kind of points to is, like. And we have Gaming Bolt trying to come out this week. That's another thing. Fight about like, this is not sustainable, or whatever their clickbait spin was on that.
You know how they do.
You should, as consumers, you should want gaming to become more accessible. You should not want it to be fight for less people to get a hold of it, because what it does is it holds back the industry. Yes. All around. Yep. The more accessible it gets, the more investment there's going to be, the more chances they're going to be forced to take, right? Because you're going to have to diversify yourself from everybody else. Mm-hmm. The more developers and creators and creatives all around the world that are going to get funding because these companies are going to have to pump in more. There's the business. Again, they only care about the boardroom. It's going to make more sense in the boardroom to put more money into the industry. Yeah. So, and that's what we're seeing, that example with Microsoft. We saw them go from 6 to 23 to, soon 30, right? Whatever. Studios, and like taking chances on things they never would have before. And it all has to do with accessibility, right? And being more convenient to the consumer and meeting the consumer where they're at. And so, I think that all just kind of dovetails together with what Sony's doing. They're doing it slower because they got the stubborn base that they've
basically cultivated. And now they have to slowly train the opposite way. Don't worry, it's okay. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we know he told you were special because of your box.
But
we're kidding.
Exactly. But don't worry, you'll be fine. Go ahead, Appleboy.
So I think the calculation, though, for ultimately what was a big debate this week was when, if ever, does Sony go day and date, right, on PC? But I think that calculation for Sony is different than it is for Microsoft.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? Right? Well, yeah, we're right. Microsoft has their own store, right?
And they got more money.
Well,
that too.
Beyond that, the store is very important.
Right.
Go ahead.
But they have their own store already. Sony does not have a store on the PC front, right? Which means their only avenue is either going through Epic, GOG, or obviously Steam, right? Either of those is going to be a cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And with Microsoft, they can offer you day and date and cross-buy because it's all the same.
All within
Guys,
their
hang on 1 second. I'll be right with you.
Go ahead.
There's someone at the door. I'll finish this point in a moment.
Go ahead, and I will actually go further for where he's talking about. And he and I have had this conversation before. He's basically saying that the equation changes when they have their own store, so then they can alleviate that 30% from the Steam and from all those other entities that will take it from them as you buy them. Now, I will let him keep going on down that path. But my initial pushback is we've already established how difficult it is just to get these PC heathens to install a damn app on their phone, an app on their PC. Epic has been trying to do it by giving you AAA bangers for free, and still people do not install the Epic app on their phone. They don't do it because it's like, I just want it on Steam. Why is it not on Steam? Microsoft did the same thing. It took them putting like Sea of Thieves, the Master Chief Collection on Steam before it became this huge success, even on PC, right? You could have gotten that thing for a long time on the Microsoft Store. Nobody wanted to install it. And that's not even to say that you had to install it, because the Microsoft Store comes built into the operating system. So it's not a situation that you had to install it.
And it's not I've heard the argument, I've even heard that people push back on Microsoft's approach. It's like, well, why didn't they just make it temporary exclusive to try to, maximize the console? And like the biggest companies in the world, the Microsofts, the Amazons, the Googles, what they've figured out is that it's not about, like, when the market matures, that's when you go for margin. but really you want to get there's some power to getting as many users talking about your product, used to
As
your
possible right
brand.
now. Yeah.
Word
possible.
for mouth. Yep.
Yeah, just engaging with your brand, and so sometimes you give up the margin, right, for that. Now, I think Sony, like to what Everborn was saying, I think Sony is still going to be slower with that. They're trying to protect what they have because it is a very profitable thing that they have. It's still still relevant. But for Microsoft, I think they can look towards the future and say, you know what, we're okay giving up a little bit of margin now.
They lose a little bit on the front end, and then in the back end they gain a lot more, hoping that you'll stay there, enjoy it, and keep making more. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So I think that this future, first of all, there's the potential future where they may not be able to rely on the store. Not guaranteed, but a potential.
A strong potential with that fallout of the Apple Epic thing. Yeah.
They need to be ready in such an event, right? So that's one thing. Now, they have seen that their games sort of have a cap of 10 to 20 million at best, right? Amazing numbers, but the problem with any corporation anywhere in our capitalist society, right, in our capitalist hellscape, if you are not growing, you're dying, right? So they need to find a way to grow that number, right? And any given game is never going to speak to all of their audience, right? So if you have 100 million, they're looking for 10, maybe 20% attach rate. That's the best you can hope for. Now, third-party games, and I'm not saying this to say they'll go third-party publisher, but third-party games have sales that are in the tens of millions. And I mean 30, 40, 50 million, right? How much did The Witcher 3 sell? Right?
Yeah, that's a lot, yeah.
Right? So, right. And so the low-hanging fruit is PC. Now, on the one hand, you can say, see, PlayStation games coming like 3 or 4 years later to PC, that is not so much as we'll give it to them 3 or 4 years later. That is, they were not focused on the PC until now, and these games came out 3 and 4 years ago.
And to add to your point real quick, a lot of people who see us, and you see me playing on PlayStation and you see me playing on Xbox, I'm a rarity among the gaming community, as is most of us. By and large, the gaming public has a place they play, and that's where they play. So the idea that day and date will cannibalize their sales or whatever, people like me will always find the deals or where we prefer to play for our reasons. Ray tracing is better on PC, I'll buy it there. Or it's better on here, I'll buy it there. The normals will play Xbox and stay there. They'll play PlayStation and stay there. So even if God of War in this mythical world comes day and date, the next one, it will not cannibalize anyone. It'll just be more money coming in because PlayStation people will play and PC people will play at the same time.
In case Ante, like you probably know this too if you have any PC friends, which I do too, that have consoles as like a backup for that exclusive. That's right. They only go to that other box when that game that they have to play comes out on it. They go play it and then they go back to
they leave it to dust again. That's right.
Yeah, and remember this point that you're about to make. Remember, they're not really making the money on the first party stuff. The first party stuff is the draw, so that most people can buy the other things. But if they're not making
money on the hardware either,
right? So if I come there and I buy the hardware and I only come and buy that game that you made as an exclusive, you're not making money on me as a PC guy, on your store because I'm not using your store. And I think that leads to the point of, I think we see Sony with their own PC storefront. But go ahead. So
that's where my pushback was to you, and you weren't here to hear it. We have already established, even when it's an easy, free application to be installed on a PC, even when the store is literally built into the OS, these PCMR heathens refuse to budge. If it's not on Steam, we don't give a screw. We have options. Screw you. Piss off.
Yeah, I think Sony is the one company who could.
Because PC
could do
people
that.
aren't the PlayStation like slaves. PlayStation slaves are different. PC people will play where they play. It has been tried and true, and they fail every time, by multiple companies. They keep failing because you think you're gonna move us with your content. Nah, bro, put it on Steam. That's what they've all come to realize. So I hear you, and it's a valid place you're going. I hear you, but I think if that is their sole solution, we're just gonna make them install just a simple app of double click and install our store, they will fail miserably.
I mean, we see it with Microsoft too. Yeah, I mean, in really,
Microsoft failed for other reasons though. But
sure,
well, their store is crap.
You know, Epic gives you, they gave you GTA 5. Do you know that like there are so many high class AAA games they're throwing at you for free 99? Twitch. If I check my Twitch stream, my Twitch available games, it's a who's who of AAA games from all over the years.
Especially if you have Twitch Prime.
That's right. Yep. Still, they're not the tip of the spear. They're not even making a dent. Why? Because it's not on Steam. People who play on PC are a different breed, bro. They really are. So I'm not saying that your hypothesis is wrong. I think if that's their sole focus, they will fail like all of the others have.
Yeah, they'll get some sales from doing it that way, but the thing is, and I'm going to use an anecdote right now, but I do think it applies to the greater population because it does tie into what that EA dub told me about. This is, like I have a PlayStation 5, right? It's a nice console, I like everything about it, but I like to play with my Elite 2 controller, right? And if Sony were putting all their games day and date on Steam, they would actually get more. I would have ended up buying Returnal, day one, if I could have played it with my preferred controller. But any of those things, especially those games that are on the cut, there's very, very few games that is like, I absolutely need to go get that, play that the first month and it's out. Most of them, and I would say because there's such an overabundance of quality things out there now for people to be engaged with, it's like I can just wait, or I'll put that, I don't need that today. And so like I know for a fact for myself, Sony would get more money from me because I would buy a lot more games. And the thing is, too, the other thing people don't factor in, and I think Jim Ryan alluded to this, indirectly he alluded to this, the value of IPs isn't based on just how many they sell. You think about it, Fortnite's a free-to-play game, right? And how much is that thing worth? It's based on engagement and it's based on mind share. And so there's like a halo effect too, no pun intended, transition. There's a halo effect too when people are engaging and they're talking about it. The more people, this is why third-party games, why Call of Duty can just stay huge all the time is because the more people you have talking about it on all these platforms at the same time.
Oh, the new one's out? Might as well go buy it. They don't even know if it's good or not. It builds up. It's like a snowball. It's like, it's hard to like, somebody's like in data and analytics. It's hard to sometimes quantify that. It's like a complicated thing, but the more people you get engaging in it at one time, like once you get over this tipping point where it becomes big time mind share, now it's actually indirectly driving more platform. They could actually end up selling more consoles just because of the fact there's more people talking about their IPs that are now worth more money. So, and we
see that in Game Pass, right? Like we see games that didn't have a lot of mind share, and then they're announced on Game Pass, and then everyone Game Pass is talking about it, and then it sells like way more than it would have on the other platforms it's available on.
How much would Sea of Thieves have sold if it was only if it was never on Game Pass?
Yes, that is very cool. And shout out to the homie Slow-Mo who's in the house.
Oh boy.
Halo.
Let me switch back to my PC slander.
We're not switching back to PC slander. He said hello. He's here to join us. So those who did not watch yesterday's episode, please go check out On the Reel. We had a fun episode, but remember, you must have watched Dune before you join us because we spoiled the hell out of that thing. It was so much fun. Great.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm watching my friends tomorrow.
And as Everborn said, this is an evergreen topic. So like watch the show whenever the movie whenever you want, and then you can catch that episode. There's nothing new there. It's specifically focused on Dune. So you'll be able to enjoy the conversation after.
And we may be doing more of that because I really like the idea of discussions
on a movie,
right? Instead of the news of the day where it becomes stale after the moment. I really like the discussion yesterday.
It was a great fun conversation.
You guys got a good show going on. I like that.
Yeah, it was real cool. We had a great time. So let us transition off to another one of my my soapboxes here. This is another one of my soapbox topics. I have to do it because if I don't, I feel like not too many others do. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas has been announced to come to the Quest 2. Now,
wait, hold on. Just Slow-Mo says his hello was ray traced in 120 FPS, something our filthy councils could never render. And I would ask him how many drivers he had to install to get that done.
Yeah,
and on the side of Everborn on this one, unfortunately, you are now watching Guardians of the Galaxy without ray tracing, because as soon as you turn it on, it breaks it crashes the game in like 5 minutes. That is a thing that's happening to specific RT cards.
Interesting.
My 3080 isn't happy, bro. Let's just put it out there. Anyway, let's move on.
Fix that, Slow-Mo.
So, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas coming to Oculus Quest. Now, when you hear this, you think it's a good idea, right? A lot of people are happy about this. And half of me is happy about it. But the other half of me is very, very disappointed, right? And before I get on my soapbox, I will ask you, OBM. I'm sure you heard about this when Meta brought out their stuff. and you know, and people are making jokes that the what do you call it? The avatar version of Zuck looks better than the real version, which is really true. But okay,
it looks more human.
Looks more human.
Yeah, that is. Like, it was almost unrealistic because it didn't look enough like a robot.
Yes. So, what do you think? I'm sure you may have caught some of the whole things that they said there, but this was a big news, especially considering that Resident Evil 4 came out, and by and large, it's like it got 9s out of 10s. People are loving it. What do you guys think of? What do you think, OBM, of San Andreas, considered by many to be one of the greatest GTAs ever released? Right, the biggest, meatiest version. Also coming to Game Pass day one, but it's also coming to Oculus Quest 2. What do you think?
So are we inferring, like, what does it mean for VR, or what does it mean for Facebook?
Well, for me,
it's Meta, sir. No more Facebook. It's Meta.
For me, if you must ask my opinion on it, it is very unfortunate because things like this will keep us in that kind of half in, half out place.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question, though. Let me ask you a question about this, right? I think the idea that it is GTA is almost it's interesting in that, not because, oh, here's another like 5-year-old or 20-year-old game, whatever it is, but the idea that it is this big open world. It's almost like GTA could be the metaverse, right?
Bro,
all of these people existing inside of this sort of matrix, so to speak, and you just do what you want.
So for the record, this is not new. Check YouTube. It's been done for years. All you need is a $29 piece of software called Vorpix, and you can literally take almost any flat game, put your headset on, and it synchronizes. So people have been doing crazy stunts in GTA for years.
But now what you're talking about with like the people who are in the know that, in order for VR to truly take off, it needs to be available and easy. Hold on a minute. It needs to be available and ready to use for the general public. You need general public IP, something that is accessible for people to walk in. And GTA is as general as it gets.
But this is the problem I have. If that's the case, then build a game for VR using the GTA IP. Don't keep retrofitting, because there are problems with retrofitting, no matter how great it is.
Yep.
The game was built for a flat surface. You will never get the frames per second per eye that you need to achieve that smoothness. It just does not exist unless you rebuild the game from the ground up, which is not what was done here. And they keep doing that because it makes business sense. I get it, 100%. But this ruins it for AAA real VR games. Because as we're seeing, Lone Echo came and went like this. right? Whereas this is getting all this attention. And Lone Echo was built for VR. And when you see that,
you mad that GTA is getting more attention than a brand new niche market IP?
High budget. When you see the faces rendered, like it's like you're a robot in like it is so next level, that game. But no one's playing it because
no one is on VR.
That's
you need
the thing.
big IPs to get the boys to the yard. You need the milkshake.
So we build the game, with the righteous IP rather than retrofitting. Because retrofitting is also a very bad
But
experience.
a VR version of an IP, I don't think does it the way something that is tried and true does. Like Star Wars is the biggest IP out there. How much did Vader Immortal do?
Well, but
and that was a great
retrofit.
game.
But hold on, did they retrofit like Battlefront into VR? No, they built a VR game with the Star Wars IP, and it was successful. That's how it's done. You don't retrofit something old.
But how many people did that get there?
It got a lot of people there. A lot of people there. Like and it got so much people there. It got so much people there that at some point Oculus was literally giving you Vader Immortal 1 and 2 as part of your purchase.
Slow-mo says Rockstar should be ashamed of themselves.
Yes, they should be ashamed of themselves for sure.
They should be.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it should not exist.
I'm sure they will cry on their river of money.
And for the record, I will let you go, OBM. I'm not saying this should not exist because there's a place for this. But I think the focus shouldn't be only here all the time. There needs to be both. And for some reason, because moneyed interest, since this is shining more, it's like what do you call it? Lone Echo 2, which was made by Ready at Dawn. You can say what you want about the order 1886, but that game was visually like arresting. It was stunning, and so is this game. But no one will ever play it, and that will be the end of AAA high budget console-like experiences in VR.
I feel like you're being a little bit hyperbolic, sir.
Until PlayStation decides.
Being a little bit hyperbolic.
Now I get the question. So we talked about it just earlier in the show. We just talked about accessibility and convenience and what that means to today's market. And so, like when I think about VR, I still see that having, content is king. Content does bring people to platforms, but nothing exists in absolutes. I think in this case here, because the barrier, it's so inconvenient. It's not viral. Like VR is not viral. It's not It's not something that's going to blow up on on Twitch. It's in just sharing the experience and things like that. It's got such. It's still got a high barrier to entry, and I know people pointed out, well, look at how it's grown in sales. And I keep saying this over and over again, especially in the marketplace we exist today, especially if you look at the way like all the richest companies in the world look at things. It's not just about making that initial sale. It's about that engagement. And whether it's people they can't play it for too long because it's, cumbersome, or they
see what you're describing right now. That description right there, let me be clear. Let me wear my bias on my sleeve so everybody understands where I'm coming from with this. I have the Quest right here, the Quest 2. I upgraded from the Quest 1. I have a PSVR in my office, in my living room, that's collecting dust. That thing is horrible. I have the Valve Index right here. So, and I'm a tech guy, so I'm speaking from that perspective. Yeah. The reason why, to me, what you're describing there, that's the Windows 98 effect. When you put a bad operating system, you put a decent operating system on a bad PC and then say it's the operating system. The reason why people are still, visual is because the games that are being put on there are not meant for it. So because of that, you can never, ever get it to that smoothness that tricks the eye and the brain to go, oh, wow, this is real.
It's just not there yet. Yeah, I think you need to get to a point.
Also a mobile processor on the Quest 2.
Exactly. Exactly.
There is some belief that someday down the road we're all going to be able to just put on the VR glasses that are wireless and access the VR through some cloud thing, and then when it gets to that,
Wi-Fi 7, prolific.
You're right, OBM.
Yeah. So when it gets to that point, then I think we can start to talk about content. Until it gets to that point, I just think it's an enthusiast product.
True.
It's gonna be a niche type thing.
Now let me share with you my agenda when it comes to that. The reason why this is frustrating for me is because we live in the world we live in now, whether we like it or not, we need Facebook/Meta because they're the only ones that will continue to invest. And that sucks. You know what I'm saying? We need
That's
them.
the other thing.
I mean, Microsoft is doing big things in AR.
Yeah, but
like
they're
practical
keeping their eye out.
uses.
They're keeping their eyes out. They're waiting for that market that OBM is describing to materialize first before they jump.
They know the market's
a smart move. A smart move, because how many arrows have they taken for being first? They're trying.
I'll tell you what, though, they got that $10 billion government contract, though, didn't they?
So let me throw this out there, Kayasante. So you know what's going to save VR is when it gets big enough that you can start throwing some of the content on a subscription. Because that's really the only way you're going to get.
HTC has already tried that. It's not working so far.
It's not right now. You had to throw it on an established one. So, like, I could see someday where Microsoft goes, "Hey, we're going to start throwing VR content on Game Pass," and then it becomes a little bit more accessible. But then you have to make it accessible to devices, like any device.
Any device, right? Yes. And they're already building up that language where, okay, these are the controllers you need. There are differences in them, but like Steam VR right now, you can approach Steam VR with any headset you have, and it'll adapt. So they're trying to get to that world.
I think for VR, it is. I don't even know that. Like, gaming is the easy way in, but I do almost feel like you sort of need sort of this Matrix level, like complete, like kind of this almost like an MMO you need with everyone.
You need a world, Second Life. Right? You need to be able to live in it, go to school in it. Yes.
Right. It needs to be something like that, less so a specific game. But a world where you can do anything and be anyone. And that's the killer app that will lead you to games. I think
what you're describing
strong focus on games is what's holding it back.
You're right. And the reason why what you're describing there is why, unfortunately, and I keep saying unfortunately because I really believe that is why, unfortunately, we need Meta right now / Facebook. We need them because they're the only ones that are still pushing on all fronts. The only ones. Because leave it to these publishers. GTA's made enough money. Let's retrofit it and get it out there. We'll make some more money and move on.
I will never say I need Meta or anything to do with Facebook.
What about augmented reality?
That's where we're going. That's AR. That is the holy grail. Right now, AR is way too expensive to implement. Right? Yeah. You've seen Microsoft's version of that. A Magic Leap.
It's
also
awesome.
Very focused on that. It is very awesome. It's just very theoretical right now. And to get anything to fit on your face comfortably that lasts a long time that you'll want to wear will cost you thousands upon thousands of dollars, which is obviously not something that can be achieved right now, right? So it is what it is. We are where we are. And as a VR enthusiast, and I will promote this once again. We will be doing more VR focused content because, damn it, I want people to see it. But the problem is, as you guys have aptly pointed out, it is difficult to show off. So it takes some technical hurdles that we're gonna have to climb. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Can I say something about the VR?
Please go ahead, man. Yes.
So you remember how OBM was mentioning if Microsoft got Steam? The owner and founder and still the founder.
That was Everborn. Everborn, by the way.
Oh, or Everborn. That the founder and owner of Steam said if he were to retire, the only person he would sell Steam to would be Microsoft. Yeah, that's why Microsoft has not made a VR headset or has not partnered with anybody yet, because they know they could just.
That's an interesting theory.
As soon as it happens, they'll take over Steam. They'll take the VR headset, and then
you
they'll
need lotion, bro. Is that what's going on?
And then also, don't forget their augmented reality. They can actually decrease the size of the Steam, or not the Steam, but Steam's VR. They can actually make it smaller and make it fit better on your head.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces out there. You're absolutely right. There are a lot of pieces on the board that have not been connected, and when they are, it will change the equation a bit. Go ahead.
It needs to be something that can either be built into glasses, or something that is sort of like the Star Trek visor, like something so lightweight that it can be put in your pocket and put on. You could wear it all the time, right? And
it has to feel like it's not even there. Yeah.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. And
you
it
know,
needs
you
to
know
be
the world we live in where rendering is really high and all of that. So that means we're a long way. Even the thinnest laptops cannot fit on your face right now, as far as components go. You know. Everyone, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I just said it needs to be that before like for tech to become like mass market, it needs to be something your grandmother can use.
Indeed.
Right. And until it gets there, it's not going to take off. And you need that in order for there to be significant investment. Right now, everyone's leaving it to Facebook to figure out because no one really believes in it because the tech isn't there. And when the tech is there, I think you'll see more people coming in and everyone, right? Like, there's even the question is, what is it going to be? Is it going to be AR or VR? And Apple and Microsoft and Google, in a way, I know they got rid of Google Glass, but there's still things that they do. They're all betting on AR, whereas Facebook is still heavy into VR.
Well, like based on their conversation of their Meta conversation, they are now transitioning. Even their new headset that's potentially coming out, their more high-powered, more involved headset seems to have more AR components in there as well as VR. So it's a transition, but we're seeing them go. I mean, take Zuck out of the conversation. I do like that you have a, billions of dollars company, right, out there putting all their chips in the VR bucket. I do like that. I know, I'm sorry. It happens to be the company we hate the most, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I hear you. So have we said our piece as far as this conversation? Because we'll get to the big story, but I want to drop a small little bit of slander in here. Okay. So we've heard that Dying Light 1 is getting a 60 FPS patch, right? Is that news to anybody, or have you guys heard about that?
Yeah, I heard.
So Dying Light 1 is getting a VR patch. It was announced I think yesterday, right? And somebody, and I won't put it up, I just want to have a quick laugh. Somebody goes, hey, will the PlayStation 5 version of Dying Light 2 be free as well? And the official Dying Light 2, the Dying Light Twitter goes, 60 FPS patch? Of course it'll be free. Somebody else is making you pay for that? Question mark. Scratching your head. I'm sorry. I'll just put that out there. Just keep it moving. So even when your partners are just slandering you on the internet, there's a problem. There's definitely a problem here. So yes, they're taking a bunch of PR wins right now. It's blowing up all over Twitter because they basically slandered PlayStation right in full view. It is what it is. But okay, let us transition on. Yes, I apologize. I'm a VR apologist. I want it to get far faster. And unfortunately, we need to sign a deal with the devil to get there, and that's where we are right now. It is what it is. But okay. So while we move on to the big story,
already has your info anyway. All of you conspiracy.
Yeah, they already got you. So while we move on to the big story, what I will do is let me transition this video, and we'll just play it in the background. If you guys choose for me to stop it, we will stop it. This is the overview video that we saw from from old Halo Infinite when it showed up. And people were rightly and aggressively on the internet speaking about it. And I think that it deserves a conversation from us as well. So first and foremost, I will ask OBM, did you watch this, sir? Dumb question.
I've only watched it I don't know, it's probably over 20 times. At
the high level, what were your takeaways when you were done?
Well, the first since the big team battle, and even before that, I've been pretty optimistic. Even I've stated it a few times on Twitter, even that about the campaign, because I said they have all the tools in the sandbox, and they got to show that off here. So I was excited about that. Obviously, I think this, coming into this, everybody was really focused on graphics, and it's just like, hey, are the graphics good enough that we can talk about the other things that really makes Halo Halo. At least that's kind of where I was at. It's like, I just wanted the graphics to be good enough that wasn't always the conversation, with the zoomed in brood faces. And I think they accomplished that. This isn't going to be the best looking, game coming out, for next gen or anything like that. But I think the graphics look nice for the art style. They do some things, pretty well, that probably are more nuanced, like the draw distances, some of the lighting things they do in this. There's some details that they've done really well that I'm very happy with. But overall, yeah, I'm saying that I'm extremely optimistic about the way this game's going to play. I do have some, I'll say, some icons of trepidation about some aspects of it.
Okay.
I am. Halo is my favorite franchise. I always try to be honest about that.
People were complaining about this. Let me. Well, please, I'm sorry. Continue speaking. When this thing dropped, people were complaining that, oh, look at how it dropped, and the sparks are like are less. I'm like, really? Was that a problem?
No, like the thing that they're trying to convey here, the sparks aren't super impressive right there. I don't know what they're doing there, but the thing that they're trying to convey, like even the way it kind of thuds on the ground, it's just telling you that, hey, this is the sandbox
physics world.
These are the physics, and everything kind of exists within that, right? And we know the physics aren't meant to be super duper realistic. We know the graphics aren't meant to be super duper realistic, and that's the part that's kind of hard to convey to people that aren't Halo fans. As somebody that's my favorite franchise, I let people know that where I'm coming from. But I also, as somebody who's it is my favorite franchise. If anybody's ever gotten to Halo Waypoint, they know that Halo fans aren't exactly apologists for everything 343 does. We've never been apologists for 343. In fact, I would argue we're probably one of the most toxic fan bases towards the developers. And I don't say that with like any pride. I'm saying,
did you just pause it at the Craig?
I'm trying to find Group, man. I'm trying to find Craig. I keep missing him. I keep missing him. You keep talking. I'll keep messing around. Go ahead.
And by the way, his name is Chad.
His name is Chad now because he got the hawk. Yes, I hear you. Oh,
he's got facial hair
and the mohawk. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, OBM. Please.
No, it's good. But yeah, in terms of the gameplay, I'm higher on. Like, to me, the gameplay looks like it's a 10 out of 10 for a Halo game. For the 30 seconds of fun, to me, that's the foundation of it. I was saying it. I was on Brad's podcast earlier this week, and I said, for me, that's always felt like the LeBron James of the team. If you're talking about like the music as a member of the team, the graphics, the story, I always felt like the sandbox, that 30 seconds of gameplay for Halo, that's the LeBron James. That's what makes Halo Halo. That's why it stands up over the years. And I think
you're saved until I throw you to your death. I'm sorry, continue.
And so from that standpoint, I think they have a home run, at least sitting there, unless they do something, with the upgrades or something that really throws that off. They have a 10 out of 10 foundation for that. The audio sounded amazing. Like if you listen to it with surround sound, especially
ray traced audio with Dolby Atmos.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. Like, put on surround sound, turn this thing up. When you're in that valley and they shoot down, what was it, a Banshee, and it explodes out, you could hear it all around you. That was amazing. The music's great. I think that we talked about the story when I was talking about Halo Wars 2 earlier today, and I think they've retconned it. They've soft rebooted it as well as you can to at least now give it a chance to be good again. And there's at least mystery and interest with a much better baddie than I think we had.
And real quick, shout out to Pixel Bit who's in the chat here, who really aptly pointed out this is the first time we've seen like brutes and any other enemies using human weapons.
Yes,
so that's a very
AI
state of affairs.
The spanker.
I want to learn more about the AI, because if you play, I spent a good amount of time in the last tech preview playing against the AI, and the AI was really impressive. Like, it was doing things that a lot of it wasn't perfect. Sometimes it would freeze up and stop doing anything.
But Halo AI has always been monumental, like above others, right?
Yes.
That's why you play it in heroic, and you're just like, yo, these guys are aggressive and they're flanking and they're
crazy,
special, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say you don't really understand Halo until you're being challenged. until you
Yep.
until you have to try to take advantage.
That's
because
why
it
they
becomes,
say you should. Normal for Halo is heroic. It's actually
is,
not
yeah.
the normal mode.
If you're a normal, if you got normal skills, heroics where you should play it.
Where you should be playing,
begin
yeah,
with.
for sure. Oh, and then of course we have the only in quote unquote battlefield moment right here.
Yeah, and this is the
He
stuff.
drops
This
down, explodes
This is
one,
badass.
grapple hooks another,
Yeah.
takes him out, and then continues the motion. Like
Kicks him out.
fantastic.
Like,
And then does a little flippity flip just for good measure.
oh, here's
Yeah.
Craig.
We missed his face. It's fine. Leave Craig alone. But you know what? We'll get back to you because we have a lot more to say about this.
Yeah,
TJ, I know you're also a huge Halo fan. We were in
yeah.
we were in the flighting together. You know, we murked a bunch of fools together. Please, I'm sure you saw this. What was your initial takeaway? What do you think? Now, this is specifically like we've spoken about the flighting on a few occasions, right? This is specific to the campaign, all the little tidbits and the details as far as and also the graphic output that they showed here. What do you think compared to the last showing?
It's definitely a 10 out of 10. I think they nailed it out of the park this time. I mean, this is like really, really, really gorgeous. And I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I've played every Halo and I've loved every Halo. Even with Halo 5's ending, which was kind of weird. Personally, like I don't know how are they gonna kill off Locke by letting us play as him, or what are they gonna do towards the beginning of the campaign?
Not kill off Locke. That'd be a problem.
I don't.
Well, because one of the brutes or one of the elites have
wearing
a helmet.
His armor. Yes.
Yep.
His helmet. Yes.
Yep. And that's what I'm afraid of. But
hey, man, maybe he lost it in battle. You've seen him helmetless many times.
I'm watching your footage on 1080p TV, and it still looks good. The visor looks good. Everything looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. So when seeing this, right? Obviously, graphically, there's a huge difference there, right? And there are some videos on YouTube where they do a side-by-side comparison, and it is night and day. They've really pushed their boundaries. The pilot's face, you can see the wrinkles now. You can see his teeth. His eyes weren't real perfect during the first one. Now the eyes are right in there. It's perfect, right?
Well, yeah.
What do we think about the story? I've heard a lot of people complaining, and Everborn, you can jump on this too. I've heard a lot of people complaining, oh, look at it. It looks like gameplay / story-wise, it's just Far Cry 6-esque, go take over this base, and then more story. And then Far Cry 6-esque, go take over this base. You know, what do y'all think of that? Is that a real concern or just trolling?
Well, they kind of they have to go a little bit like in a sense of an idea like towards like Far Cry or something like that, because this is the first time they're going open world, or at least semi-open world, like Hub, like Destiny. I mean, this is not linear. This is not just point A, point B, you're done, then you go straight to multiplayer. This is also going to be a 10-year game, as far as we know. So that means actually the campaign will still grow along with the multiplayer. So I don't know, man. What do you think, OBM?
Yeah, I mean, so this is, I think, amongst the Halo fans. This somebody brought it up on our podcast this week in the chat. They asked the question, or actually it was from our forum. Do we think that the open world, the icon chasing in the open world, is this going to be the new Sprint for Halo? Where you had that divide in the community? Because even amongst, I would say this is where, and I try to bring this up when I talk about Halo Infinite right now, because even amongst some of the big time enthusiasts, this was something that I think gives a lot of people anxiety. Oops, I hear myself. I think it gives them a lot of anxiety, right? Because they see that Ubisoft fatigue come in, and I know you guys talked about how much you're enjoying Far Cry.
Yeah, I had to jump back into it just to remind myself. And then again, I haven't played it since 3, so the formula works again because I haven't played it over and over. But if you've been playing all of them up until then, you might be tired of it.
Okay, but let me ask you guys a question.
Yes.
Was Master Chief ever in a Far Cry game?
Nope.
Oh, look at that. It's not
One
the same
bad
thing.
insider.
No, you make a good point.
Right?
So I want to do the both. Yeah, there's two sides to this, and I actually thought about this and was talking out loud about it. I don't think this campaign is not going to be an 8-hour campaign. You're not going to have to grind for 40 hours to level up to get through the campaign. There is going to be a golden path. I think they've already hinted to that. You probably in the golden path, if anything, some people might speed run this, and it might be that other controversy because it may not be super duper long if you want to just play it straight through on a normal difficulty.
I hope it's long. I want a good story after 6 years of waiting.
And they're making you pay for just the story, so it better not be a 4-hour situation or 5-hour situation. This is technically you're only paying full price because we had that smoke for Battlefield, right? Hey, why are you taking this away while giving us full price? Someone can say now multiplayer is no longer part of the
Battlefield
price.
didn't give us a free campaign to go with.
But you know what I'm saying, bro. You know what I'm saying.
But this is where the sandbox. So this is the other side of that, and this is what I try to rationalize for myself as somebody who's absolutely exhausted with Ubisoft games. When I see icons, it feels like work. I turn it off a lot of times. But here's the difference: Halo. We've never seen it in a sandbox like this, right?
True.
And a Halo form.
Yeah, and I did see, the one of the encouraging thing is that I think we've seen three or four different outposts, either in the form of pictures or on the video. They've all been laid out completely different. It's not going to be, like I said, an 80-hour thing where you're going to have the same thing cut and paste 10 times, 20 times, that you're going to keep doing it. It feels the same every time you go. That's where Ubisoft games usually lose people. It's like,
very formulaic.
It becomes just you're on autopilot. You're not even thinking about what you're doing anymore. You're just doing the same thing.
I think that's the issue that people sort of conflate.
Yeah.
It is not because Ubisoft or Ubisoft, whatever you call them.
Well,
it's not because
it should be Ubisoft because their name is Ubiquitous Software. So it's
Ubisoft. It is not because the games are open world that they've become repetitive, right?
Right.
It is
the formula.
It is the way they implement it. And like you said, it's basically like you're clocking into work. You're basically working as a map janitor to clean up those icons.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. It doesn't have to be that way. If every area is meticulously designed to have give you a sense of either fear or power or just sort of hit those emotional high points of that 30-second loop, you can do it. And a lot of people say Far Cry, but to me, what I see is Zelda.
Yes,
I could see
that. I mean, the grapple shot's right there, people. It's right in front of your
definitely
face.
See that. Yeah.
Right. But this idea that you can probably speed run this thing and go straight to Ganon or Atriox in this case, but you have to build up the courage on your own, and to do that, you are going to have to take out these hunters and the Spartan killers and take down certain bases and do those things. Because even if you go back to Link to the Past, right? It starts up, you meet Ganon for the first time, and now you got your little sword that your uncle gave you. And now you know where the first 3 castles are. You can go tackle those in any order you want. And it is really like one of the first kind of real like open world games. And then, you beat those 3 bosses, and now you have the time shift, and now you got to beat 7 more bosses in the order that you want. And sometimes you'll get a power up that'll allow you to access a new place. And that's kind of what I feel like. That's the vibe that I got as opposed to Far Cry. So real quick, there's ways to do it, is what I'm saying.
We have Pixelbit G in here, our Halo lore expert, dropping some very interesting theories here. Where do y'all think those Spartan cores come from? Dead Spartans, I say.
But Spartans aren't robots.
Destiny reference.
No, because remember, you need those Spartan cores to upgrade all of your various equipment. But from a story perspective, where are those Spartan cores coming from? And of course, we already have confirmation that there are Spartan killers in this world.
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
know that, but Spartans don't power the Spartan suits, do they? the Spartan program is a
we'll need a bit more understanding of what a Spartan core actually is. We'll need.
Right?
That's a good question.
Yeah, we need a deeper dive.
So I would
That'd be
say
an
that maybe
interesting
it might be the power core that's powering the Spartan suits.
Yeah,
Probably,
and maybe they are from Dead Spartans because we know
you got to take the suit to get them off the
right.
Spartan.
The Banished, the Banished. That's what they're known for. I mean, and they also got the new guy in there. I can't remember his name. Something sounds like
with an E.
Hidama.
Yeah.
Hey,
don't or whatever.
Don't forget, guys, that in Halo Wars there was multiple Spartans. There was like hundreds of millions of Spartans before Master Chief, and the Banished started wiping them out.
Yeah.
So think about it.
That's their version of Order 66. So maybe that's where you're getting all your Spartan cores from, you know.
Yep.
But it's an interesting thought, you know. I'm hoping that they thread that needle story-wise. Go ahead.
That would be intense. I would like that actually.
With this crazy world that they've built for Halo and all the lore and all the books, it sucks that the show is still going to be trash. And you just know that it's going to
be trash
because they gave it away to Paramount Plus. That's why you don't. Showtime is not going to get rid of a show that they think is going to be a hit.
It should have gone to Netflix or HBO Max, something that's got more money, more production.
If it was on HBO or Showtime decided this is big enough to buoy our service instead of offloading it because you spent money on it and you don't like what you have to a fledgling streaming service. Like it doesn't inspire confidence, is what I'm saying.
No, it doesn't.
I will give you it doesn't inspire confidence comment.
There's been no live action Halo adaptation or sort of surrounding project that has met the quality bar that it could meet. This could be a tentpole movie franchise as big as Star Wars.
What's the closest that has met that for you?
I don't remember the names anymore. It is definitely not Nightfall because that was a Pitch Black ripoff.
Yeah,
right?
It's not Nightfall. To me, it's Forward Onto Dawn.
Maybe. Look it up. That's where they had the kids, right?
Yes. That eventually turned into, that show was the closest expression of, this is Halo possible. Yes, it's true. It was also budget limited.
Halo if the CW made it.
No.
Yes.
It had a better budget than that. It had a better budget than that. Maybe I'm watching it. I'm remembering it fondly, and I need to rewatch it now.
I think I'm with Everborn on that. I think it felt like it was.
It wasn't even
TV.
As good as the 100, right? So I know that it's.
And the fact that you watched the 100 is slander in and of itself, bro.
Easy.
I don't know why Microsoft just doesn't pay Warner Brothers to make it, like the actual movie production company. To actually make a Halo movie, like a real production movie.
They got pushed out of Hollywood because they were walking into Hollywood like, I'm Microsoft and I want this control over the IP and you're going to do this, that, and that. And then everybody that touched it was like, who the hell do you think you are? Go back to making your software and video games. We make the movies.
But the video game industry is bigger than the movie industry. So you would think that they would want to take the bag of money.
What you're describing there, that's the reason why we never get a good comic book comic book now, but video game movie
and show.
Because they know that this industry is much bigger than theirs, but they're still kind of at that highbrow, hey, we're here for artistry, sir. You can't bring your drivel to us and expect us to, kowtow to your way. No, it's changing little by little. And Sony is helping that. Let's give Sony their credit. Sony's helping that move.
But Sony is a movie studio, so they can do that.
And that's the reason why we needed someone like them to bridge that gap. And hopefully, with The Last of Us 2 good showing or whatnot, maybe that might entice other houses to take it more seriously than they have. I will say real quick, Everborn, I'll let you go, OBM. I will say one thing you said a little while ago rings true to me still to this day. Whenever you hear discourse among gamers, when you go to the Twitters, when you go to spaces and you hear people talk, that might be another reason why they never take video game property seriously, because they hear all these man babies just whining and complaining rather than, elevating the project to where it should be. I'm sorry, OBM, continue.
No. I've got a chance to say a lot already, but I was going to say, how frustrating is it that you have to, in order to understand the 343 story in 4 and 5, you have to go read all the comic books, find every terminal, read the books. But then, they come up with the TV show and it's not even connected. It's not even canon. And that is really frustrating. And that's what turned me off. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think I have a feeling it's not. I'm not even
I think it's going to tank.
Probably.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're trying to bury it on Paramount Plus.
I'm not counting.
Yeah.
Even as a hardcore Halo fan, I'm not really looking forward to
I
it.
literally paid for a year of Paramount Plus just to watch this show.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about it. We'll have to watch it so we can talk about it.
We'll do your review.
Let's say CBS All Access, which is what Paramount Plus is now, has a lot more content that people who watch it actually like. So it's not like an out of nowhere. I will agree that the name change out of nowhere is a little bit frustrating because then it becomes, reset. And for a while there, people were really pushing Paramount Plus, CBS All Access, because it was producing and bringing a lot of interesting things to the forefront. But yes, I agree with you guys.
If the show is of the quality of Picard or Star Trek Discovery, I will be pleasantly surprised, even though I'm not like huge fans of those.
Or the Orville.
The Orville's interesting because that's like a comedy.
Orville's
right?
great. Orville's great. It's greater than it has any right to be.
Right.
It is where Star Trek should have gone.
It's not.
They did it. It is.
Nope. Stop it. Stop it right now.
It is Enterprise level, like thought provoking. You haven't given it the chance it deserves. Have you seen the whole thing? It is very good. But it is very good.
I say all that to say, if they at least give it that sort of a budget, because I don't think sci-fi on television, like long form sci-fi storytelling, has really worked. Maybe like the first season of Westworld is probably the best sci-fi long form storytelling we've got.
And then it jumped the shark, unfortunately.
Exactly. So it's very hard to do, or at least historically it's been hard to do this. Yeah. So we'll see how Halo goes. But I also don't know that brutes and covenants and grunts translate well to live action. And that's, I think, part of the problem.
For continuing the wonderful tradition of finding someone who agrees with me. Thank you very much. Everborn needs to watch Orville before he speaks. We shall continue.
But yeah, I don't know that the brutes and the grunts
they don't translate
well to live action.
Right.
Yeah. And you need a good budget to make it believable. And it seems by all accounts, no one's ready to give it that budget that it needs.
It needs a huge budget.
It needs a huge budget. Yes.
Because all the characters, and this goes back to the game, and even looking at the update that came out on Thursday, they had the developers talking about the graphics and articulating some of the things I've been trying to say to people that again are like, why didn't they go with Unreal Engine 5 and make this like a super realistic game with Hellblade graphics? And it's like like a lot of the art style really. It's part of the gameplay. It's part of the puzzle. You have to be able to like look at things and identify, what piece of the puzzle you're dealing with.
I might have to watch the Orville now.
Yeah, bro.
Sorry.
It's a good show with Sub MacFarlane.
Damn good. Damn good.
Watch it out of spite for slow-mo.
I'm still waiting for season 3. But
yes, as am I. It's very good. I'm sorry. Continue. We're diverging. Go ahead, man.
No. It's all good, man. But yeah, like from the art standpoint, like this is it's really about like informing the gameplay, and I don't think that necessarily translates really well to real life, because I think like what you're saying there, like a grunt and even a brute, like if you try to make those super realistic, it might come across as kind of cheesy, right? Like you'd have to change the art style.
I don't know about that. I mean, look at the cutscenes for Halo 2 remastered.
Yeah,
the cutscenes look so damn real.
Some of the producers have made I forget the name of the producer who did it. There's YouTube like short films where they've remade Halo a little bit. I forget the gentleman.
Well, okay,
but it actually worked out very well.
Those short films would not translate to a long form story or a movie. Yeah. I do think you'd have to redo the art style, or you could not have a focus on the sort of culture and story elements of the Banished and the Covenant, because I don't think people could follow them speaking, right? Like I think you would have to have them like sort of languageless enemies, like in other alien invasion movies you see, and I don't think that would do the Halo universe justice. So it's,
you're right. So Pixelbit, to answer your question, I do remember like those commercials, but the problem is those commercials are just a like 30-second spot. You'd need consistent budget to keep, because you need the enemy on screen a lot of times, and they need to look good a lot of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Forward Unto Dawn also happened, and I just pointed that out. I enjoyed Forward Unto Dawn, but to get Groots and Brutes, to get Brutes and Elites all on screen, looking like like the Arbiter, for instance, you want to be able to see him as a normal like individual while next to Chief, while in this world. It will require a lot of budget, like movie AAA level, huge budget, which by all accounts doesn't seem like they're going for. Right?
No,
I think Microsoft should spend that money, to really prop up their franchise. But it seems that ship seems to have sailed, unfortunately.
Remember, I think it's Neil Blomkamp.
Yes, maybe, that's what I was talking about. Right? Blomkamp's fan film.
Well, yeah, but he so under
they looked great.
Right, but he made a movie, and he was actually signed on to direct the Halo movie before it fell apart, and it was going to be produced by the guy that did the Lord of the Rings movie. What's his name?
I do recall that.
What is his name? Lord of the Rings director.
Yeah,
help me out here.
Jackson.
Peter Jackson. Yes, it was supposed to be produced by Peter Jackson, directed by Neil Blomkamp. And when that fell apart, they remodeled the assets they had and made that low budget movie where the aliens came in. No, it was before Chappie.
Oh, that was actually good. That was a good.
It was before Chappie.
Because Chappie has the Halo vehicles in it, literally.
Yeah, I know. But they use the assets from this other thing, which I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay,
I think I know what you're talking about. I think it was decent, right? It was a decent.
Yes, it was decent. It was
District 9. Yeah. It was District 9.
Oh yeah, District 9. That was actually good.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean Chappie. I meant District 9. Yes, which was a damn good movie.
His follow-up to that, Elysium, was terrible. But
shit.
True. Right.
True. To make a good Halo movie that fits everything we're talking about, it probably has to become a very personal story that focuses a lot on the humans. It only brings in, like, I don't think you can do what most fans probably want, which is full scale battles and all that other stuff. That's going to be, you're not going to make a Michael Bay Halo.
Well, okay. To be fair, though. I
would like to see a Michael Bay Halo.
The MCU has largely
Michael Bay Halo.
The MCU has largely pulled this off with projects like Guardians of the Galaxy and Infinity War with all those aliens. They really made you believe that these weird,
but they were ready to put the budget out there. They were ready to put the money out there. They also had the foresight of the genius that is Feige. It seems like Halo's being dropped on people's doorsteps, which is what will make it.
I understand that. What I'm arguing for is a Disney style budget where you had, like, I'm thinking out loud as I'm saying this because I think I was saying it wouldn't play well, but looking at what Marvel was able to do to make you feel for Thanos, a big purple dude with a nutsack for a chin, right?
Yeah,
and what they were able to do with Korg and Meek and Thor Ragnarok, you could tell a Halo story. I just don't think. I think they would need that balance of fun, adventure, and kind of jokes.
You say purple dude with a nutsack for a chin. I thought Ivan Ooze from Power Rangers. I'm sorry, forgive me.
I thought Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
That's even better. That's
awesome. So yeah, it could work. And they could take it relatively seriously. But I think you have to start with the UNSC and focus on the humans' perspective first,
almost ODST style,
right? And build out from there before and slowly introduce, because it took us a decade to get to where we're looking at it, Infinity
True.
War and all
They
those
need to
other
ground
things.
it in as much humanity as possible before they start adding the weird animals and
if they truly want to make a show or movie, they have, or if they want a whole sequel movies or shows or whatever, they have to start from the origins from the book and Halo 1 and tell the story and then
kids,
spun
the whole
adding
deal.
to it. Yeah.
Well, hold on a minute.
And that would get people interested.
Slow-Mo says you can't focus on Chief solely because he doesn't have a personality. 343 tried to give him a personality, but we'll talk about that later.
And actually,
but they get all the shit.
The new show seems to suggest that they're trying to give him a personality, right?
Well, but here's the thing. I think that you could. Do you remember the Witcher animated movie that they just put out?
Oh yeah, I really dug it.
By the end of it, you saw a young Geralt. I think
Baby
you
Geralt.
could do something like that.
Yes.
I think you could focus on
establishing the world, establishing the environment, and then what led to the need for the Master Chief, which is bringing kids into the picture. Because in the story, like there was upheaval already happening left and right within the realms of humanity, right? And then out of nowhere, the Covenant came and superseded all of that. So they initially built the Halo, the Spartans, to basically quell dissenters, right? They were planning on using the Spartans against other humans, and then the aliens came and changed the equation. That's the origins of it.
Now, do you focus on a young chief being a young John, if that's his real name, being kidnapped as a kid? Do you focus on that aspect of it, or do you bring that ugly truth up later?
I say start with the kid. You start with the kid, and it brings in the people because they want to know, okay, well, why is the kid being kidnapped? And it builds the suspense, like, oh, I want to know what happens next.
See,
and then
I hear you
they
on
get
that.
hooked.
I hear you on that, but I think Halsey is a far more interesting character until Chief matures. Like, Halsey's amazing. She's one of my favorite
they can segue
characters.
her into that. They can.
Yeah, and that can be on the ground level, right? Real science, real people. Yes, in a fantastical world where it's not Earth, but still real people. Well, it could also be Earth because it happened on Earth, New Mombasa, and all of that, right? But you don't have to have super soldiers in there from jump. You know, just like we knew.
I kind of think you do to put
but hold on. Just like we knew that Game of Thrones would eventually have dragons, we didn't see them for quite a while. Right? They laid the foundation of the real world before they threw the dragons overhead.
If it's a show, yes, you don't start with the Spartans. But if it's a movie,
is a show, right? This is a show. We're talking about the show.
You got to do the Spartans like a Captain America kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you can, like I said, reveal the ugly truth later. But as a movie, you would need Spartans in it day one because you need that action.
True. Yeah, I'm talking about not continuing the mistakes that were made by Dune. Shout out to the slander. How about we start from jump without blowing our load, pause on all of that Spartan stuff, lay the foundation. Who are the UNSC?
Yeah,
why are they
agree.
necessary? Why did Halsey need to start the Spartan program? All of that.
You're saying like a Starship Troopers. How about that?
Basically, yes.
And I'm talking about the novel,
like a backstory of why Halsey became
lay
a
the
professor
foundation
of doing that. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry. OBM, go.
No, I was going to say, so what do you guys want to see from the story? So with what you saw in the trailer, kind of taking it back to the game there. What are some things you guys thought about with what you saw there from the story standpoint? And what are some things that you're hoping to see from a story standpoint with Infinite?
Okay.
I mean, I'll start with you first. Go ahead, answer your question, and I'll move on to the rest of us.
Hold on.
No. He asked the question.
I want to hear him say it.
So, okay, I would like to see Chief on the back pedal, right? Where he is not sort of controlling the situation at first. And I do like the idea of him having to, rebuild himself or rebuild the suit to get enough power. Like, how Goku had to borrow the power from all the Saiyans to fight Broly. Right. But I would like to see that. I think that I don't know if this new weapon is going to be the new Cortana or if Cortana is going to take her over. I don't like put hard like strict guidelines on what I need to see from the story, but I do want to see more of an emotional journey from the Chief that we got like as a continuation of Halo 4 that I think they shied away from a little bit in Halo 5. I think they went back to Chief being a hero again, which is great. But again, Halo 4 to me humanized Chief, and I want to see more of that. I want to see more of Chief's personality. I know King David doesn't like Dude Buddy, but if he's in the ear complaining about how dangerous this is, and Chief's kind of telling him to shut up, right? I do like that idea.
Yeah.
I do want to see, not by the what's happening, J-Mo Money. But I do want to see Locke in some form or fashion. I do not want to play as Locke, not right now. I want to see Locke as a playable character in one of the future story expansions,
or as an option.
No, not even an option. This is Chief's thing.
No.
Let Chief finish his business with Cortana, and then we can get to that. Right.
Okay.
Now,
cool.
then I want to see, but in the capacity of Locke, I like this idea that he thinks all the Spartans are dead, and maybe most of them are. But I like the idea of Locke is in the background running his own mission, and at the end, we will see that Locke helps out in some way where we think Chief is done for, and then Locke can come in, and we find out we thought Locke was dead because we saw his armor on someone else, but it turns out he's alive, and he played a pivotal role in dealing with the events on this ring. So story-wise, I want Chief and Cortana to settle their business, and I think the weapon is going to normalize Cortana again and bring her back, right? But so the issue won't be that Cortana is trying to take over the galaxy. You will have to deal with the Banished, right?
True,
and this new war that is happening, right? So and then I want Locke to get back in our good graces. And I would like to see Chief not just win everything and be put under some pressure to where he is on the back pedal. He's on the run.
I do like that idea that you're talking about where his armor always just seems to be perfect. It's a machine, right? If he's out there by himself for as long as he is, and now his AI is gone, there should be some degradation there. He should be having to work to keep it alive because it shouldn't just always be impervious to everything that's thrown at him. I do like that adversity a little bit. So he
should be sometimes getting his ass kicked, basically.
Yes. Now,
also, one other thing though, and Slow-Mo pointed out something that Halsey has never gotten her comeuppance.
Yes.
Yeah, there's really no.
Do we want to see Chief kill Halsey?
No, I don't think that we want that.
We lost Drone TJ.
TJ dropped. No.
Now, here's the thing. I would like to see her brought up on a military tribunal, even though
stuff like that. Yeah.
But they sanctioned it, so how could that happen? And I feel like Chief is too buddy. Like Chief don't even got no hard feelings towards her, and that again is too machine-like of Chief. I feel like even if he's not going to kill her, he shouldn't be happy just to talk to her, right? He shouldn't just be like,
"Yeah, I'm back."
This is business. So you know what I mean? Like he should have some animosity towards that. And if we could delve into some of the trauma he had to deal with and the resentment that he has for Halsey, while sorting out his issues with Cortana, I'd love to see some of that. I don't know how much of that they're going to touch on, but I think there's fertile storytelling ground there.
What nugget I will drop, which this is news that's been spoken of before, but it kind of came and went. Of Team Osiris, one of the voice actors, the one who plays Holly Tanaka, she has been heard saying that she's voicing a character in Halo Infinite. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the first campaign because as they've already said, it's a 10-year story or whatever. This could be prepared for the next campaign, but at least one of Team Osiris has been on record as being in this Halo Infinite campaign. We haven't heard from any of the others. I hope Buck still comes. I hope I hope all of them show up, but at least Tanaka is back in there, and her, she's both the voice actor and the face model for the character. So that is very interesting. Now, what I want to see from the story, I believe it or not, I kind of like the idea from a gameplay perspective. First and foremost, I kind of like the idea of the Far Cry-ness a little bit, because
Breath of
like
the Wildness. Get it right,
yes,
sir.
Well, either way,
that's a good way to put it.
Either way, I like it because it gives you that what they're really doing there is they're giving you the ability to tackle this how you want to tackle it, in any way you choose to want to approach it, right?
Except stealth.
Freedom of choice.
No stealth.
Except stealth, which let's be honest, we don't want stealth with
Don't
Halo.
want stealth. No.
This is a brooding, big hulking monster of a dude. You don't want him sneaking behind boxes. That's ridiculous, But to be able to attack
Giving
it
you
from
freedom of
multiple angles,
choice.
that is great. And what I also think is, I do have that fear of the formulaic nature of it, but this is not Ubisoft, right? They're going to take the core concepts and they're going to diversify the way 343 does, right? So I'm looking forward to that as well. From a story perspective, they spend a lot of time, and I've been part of the Halo Infinite, the Halo Insider program for quite some time. They spend a lot of time adding more to this multiplayer, cleaning this up, quality of life features. They've been doing that for years. Just recently, they're just quitting with the Master Chief Collection. They've been working on that
that's
years.
a thing that excites me, that the 343 can shift focus from Master Chief Collection, which is again just it's old games, right?
Yep.
We've played them a million times. Yep. The idea that the team can be fully focused on this new thing, adjust to community feedback for something new that people are playing is super exciting to me.
Exactly.
Because it will be this living, breathing thing on something new, not just fixing old things.
I hope that they don't focus all their energy on multiplayer as they have.
They are going to focus all their energy
because they need the single player to continue. Because think about it. What you're paying for, those who will drop their $60, and many of us will. I have a collector's edition coming in. You're buying that campaign, so that campaign needs love as well. And I know they're bringing Forge. I know they're bringing co-op. I just want them, and I know that the bread is buttered with the free-to-play multiplayer. I know that, but just as the bread is buttered with the free-to-play multiplayer, you can give me a season pass. Give me some episodes and then charge me for additional episodes. I'm fine with that.
Let me ask you a question in regards to the campaign and being a standalone thing and co-op and Forge. So effectively with the campaign, like obviously you're paying for the story and then maybe or maybe not you'll pay for the story updates, right? Because I feel like since it doesn't come with multiplayer, maybe those story updates should be kind of included, but that's neither here nor there. Unless what they're saying is the co-op is more than just co-op. Oh, I see Boom in the house.
Welcome, good sir.
Now, what if the co-op is more of has a PvE element in terms of having raids and having this Destiny sort of element where the hub world works, right? And you can go on these things and these big bosses that you need to, and almost like dungeons that you need to sort of take out around the ring, and they will update those things. And so campaign in and of itself is its own like full kind of experience, full ongoing experience.
They have different cover elements. Hey, whenever they show it off, they don't show off Halo Infinite. They show off Halo Infinite campaign with its own logo thing and multiplayer with its own logo thing. So all I'm saying, and to your point, I want them to give the single player some love. I do see everything you're saying. You're absolutely right. I see the Far Cry-ness, but I also see the Breath of the Wild discovery elements there. So you can keep pushing that. You can give us challenges. You can do a very PvE type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just hoping that this doesn't become the tried and true Halo formula where they give you the campaign, it's great, and then they never touch it again, and they just keep moving on.
No, but so Pixel says we're bugging if we think the campaign won't live on. But I mean the way for it to live on. I'm sorry, like to bring the Bungie comparison, but I feel like
Destiny-like.
The single player
Mhm.
has to have some Destiny elements where the hub world continues, the enemies respawn, and there are raid elements that you do with friends.
But does it? So here's the thing I would bring up, and this is actually a good conversation. And this is something they haven't really. There's not been any hints or leaks about how
no
this
conversation about it yet.
Yeah, about how the campaign will persist. And I keep hearing that it's like, hey, it's got to be an ongoing game, and you have to do it like Destiny to make it work. And I think Slomo brought up a good point this week too. On the
Phil
show,
Spencer's a Halo is a Destiny stan. So come on now.
No, and I think Slomo brought up some good points about we've never really had this type of thing be a success before. But again, they're in a unique model. We talked earlier in the show about the Game Pass kind of create like being a platform to bring in different types of content type that maybe would not have worked in a traditional model. I would say in a traditional model, it would probably have to be a Destiny, like it wants to be your life type of game. But where I think there's a unique opportunity here, and this is just a personal thought, that there's a unique opportunity with Halo because it is such a well-known IP, because it does not only have a multiplayer but a campaign that people have grown to love over the years. To like, what would be wrong with every year dropping an 8 to 10 hour campaign that's part of Game Pass to keep people subscribed to Game Pass, right? There's an opportunity here to do this different than every other game before, where because they do need single player content. It can't all be existing ongoing gas type content, and so Halo can serve two purposes. One is it has a multiplayer that exists itself as a platform to bring people into the ecosystem. I think the campaign can serve as a carrot to keep people into, like, hey, I know I'm going to want to buy the new campaign DLC every year, so I'm just going to stay subscribed, right? And it doesn't have to be an ongoing thing, because with Microsoft, they don't need one game to gauge all your time. It could be
and for the record, we're not talking about Destiny like replay the same campaign over and over and over again. There are pluses in the Destiny elements that actually work. Events that happen in the world.
You can have that too.
Now Destiny events tend to be like short little experiences, because they know you have your strikes you have to go do. You have your weekly this you have to go do. Maybe these events in Halo are far more drawn out, far more intricate, right? Just to keep you in that world, just playing around. It doesn't have to be specifically campaign focused. Hey, there are more enemies dropping huge things into the world. We all have to work to fight it. While they have those going on, in between every 6, 8, 12 months, drop a Halo campaign. Every something like that.
Well, you can make it, and this is the exciting thing, and I mentioned this because, again, like, even on our You Had Me at Halo show, like, we're definitely not all shills like for everything that could possibly happen here. And one of the concerns that was brought up is, hey, it's a platform. Is that going to dilute the future of it? And I've argued, actually, and this comes from somebody who looks at the possibilities. There's opportunities because of Game Pass to take a lot of chances on this, right? Like to do things that maybe could not have existed in a traditional model. And one of those would be
that money. Yep, you're right.
Right. And one of those could be the first type of serialized, almost like a TV show. Like, you think about Game of Thrones, like every year you come back to HBO, you'd expect a new season, a new 10 episodes or whatever. Like you could do the same sort of thing with Halo. And it's like every year you're going to come back and it's going to be, maybe you wrap up one season, but you leave hooks for the next, right?
Yeah.
Like just
so
like
you don't think Atriox will be the final fight of this
no,
campaign.
I don't.
You'd want that to be way down the line. Kill his lieutenants first, and other things.
One other thing though that I think is something that Halo has going in its favor, where it can. Everyone's like, how's it going to set itself apart from COD and Battlefield and Fortnite? Firstly, because it's Halo, so shut the fuck up. But secondly, I think that they sort of stand alone in that space, like high profile FPS games, that they are still focused on story. Right?
Yeah.
So the idea that where Call of Duty's campaign is like You can throw it away every year. Nobody really cares, right?
Right.
Battlefield has foregone it altogether. I don't know if you want to call anything that that Fortnite does a story. You really can't.
No, it's not really a story.
And Destiny is very loose lips with the story, right? Like if you pay attention to it, sure. So if they're heavily focused on story, and that is the thing.
The story is complicated. Holy crap!
But Halo being focused on story, I think, sets them apart from the pack.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that could be the thing that
Yes.
that keeps that makes them unique in this crowded space.
Yeah, and keeps bringing them to Game Pass, right? Like, and this goes back to, so we were talking a little bit about the story, and I was kind of asking what you guys' thoughts were, and so part of me gets excited about the combination, the potential, like, and it always comes down to the details and execution. So I'm not saying it's going to be the greatest thing ever right now. We don't know how they're going to execute. They got new people writing the story from 5, so there's hope that this team knows it knows how to represent Halo the right way. But what I do like is like they've created this sort of, it's almost like they've gone back to the Halo CE tone. It's like you against the world. Like you saw that one screen with like where they said like deceased for all your, all the basically all your allies are looks like they've been wiped out for the most part. You lost the war. It's you and your AI against the world again. And they've entered a bunch of new different I guess enemies and things like that. And I think there's an opportunity here to, like, again, maybe there's a concise story here built around your dude, your Brohammer guy, getting him home. But in that process, and maybe your final boss is like somebody who's underneath Atriox, like, and I think that's kind of what they're kind of alluding to. But there's going to be this bigger overarching story. You still got Lost, you still got people out there that you can go back now and you can experiment, but still do it in a way that's really focused on making this a serialized story. Like we've never had that really, I think, in gaming to that standpoint where you get every single year you get a significant story, not something that's diluted with a bunch of grind and a bunch of like,
no.
You know what I'm saying?
That
like,
really excites the Halo campaign fans. Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. If they do this sort of, if the co-op is more involved than just playing the story campaign together, and it is revolved around raids and doing things around the open world, I may never touch the multiplayer part of it. I might just stay in the in the campaign side. I'm just telling the truth.
You know what? The reason why that's an interesting statement, because I'm the same way. There are some of us, and Microsoft has a telemetry. There are some of us who've been playing those campaign missions for years, and we play it on the console. Campaign. We play it on. I play it in the cloud. I play it everywhere. I'm still on that mission. So if you make a half in, half out PvE style campaign where people can feel like they're progressing and not necessarily be all about competition all the time, because shout out to those who can't pause games. Parents can't pause games. We'll still be there, right? And they're offering 2 different tracks for us. They've shown that by literally giving us two different icons for the type of game you're going to buy. You have the PC version, the single player version, which shows its own thing, and the multiplayer version. So
wait, hold on a minute.
Long story short, I just want them to focus the same energy on both.
You see Slow-Mo's comment, they're not killing Chief, so Locke got to take one for the team.
No,
here we go.
You see what happens.
You see what he's doing?
Every time. I said this on the show last night. You got a strong black man there. And now they got to kill him. God damn.
They're not killing him.
Son of a bitch.
I don't think they're going to kill him.
No,
I don't think they're going to kill him.
No, you can't. I said it. If they kill Locke, we riot.
We riot. We in the streets.
And here's the other opportunity. You get this right with Chief, because people wanted more Chief in the last game. We didn't get it.
Yeah.
now again, you can with DLC, you can revisit some of these characters
right.
and
There you go.
explore
Right.
their backstories, and it can all,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden now when Locke's back with part of the team, or he's part of your co-op or whatever, now he means more, right? Because the problem with Locke wasn't that he was a bad character; he just wasn't a developed.
He just popped
character.
in. He just popped in.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it was
Listen,
that
this
is
is-
the WB thing they do, where they show you the Avengers before they show you the movies that got them
But
there.
Right.
this is the thing. This is the thing. If they kill Locke, we riot. But if they force you to play levels as Locke, we also riot. Like,
Oh, come on now.
like,
on
That's-
now.
let me play
true.
this
That's
campaign as Chief, and then give me a whole Locke campaign on his
Snowball
own.
once again
I
going
don't
loose.
want-
His ass is grass, he says.
I don't want to have to do that switch between Chief and Locke. Give Locke his own thing.
In this same campaign, in being that it's a 10-year story, you can do that ODST world, man. You can
Yes,
do
you
that.
can.
You can. After you've established the chief, you can
Aren't they
give me,
gonna do?
you can give me a
aren't-
campaign where all they do are normal characters. You can do that world, right?
Aren't they gonna do an ODST side campaign? I thought I heard they were gonna do that later down the road. They already announced something
It's
like
all rumor and speculation, bro. It's all
Yeah.
rumor and speculation. I just hope that in that tradition they
They will.
continue. It
Yeah,
shouldn't always
I mean-
be the super Spartan.
Yeah.
The world is so diversified and so
That's right.
interesting. Even in the military focused, like the UNSC, not a single Spartan in sight. It's so interesting in that world. They just need to take that further and flesh it out and show us really all the intricacies there. I think
And there's no limit. There's no limits either. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I got one last thing, and I'll say, and then I'll shut up because I've said so much.
Okay.
Today. But I was gonna just throw out there, like if you look at Microsoft, what they did with Rare, after they see if these got a little bit of traction, they had 3 teams, like all building content, building their own campaigns at the same time, right? And it's a different game. I get it, but you know that this budget, when we hear the $500 million rumor budget. You hear about the rumored number of people on the project. It's not, and I keep seeing this on Twitter. It's like 500 million for this campaign. What if it's only 10? It's not all for that. There's a lot
The
of
engine,
things going
too.
on. Yeah,
there were wasting
engine.
going on. There's the engine
There's
going
a-
on.
there's-
There's some
there's
restarts going
multiple-
on. Yeah.
Waste,
multiple-
fraud, and abuse. No, I'm joking.
No, there's multiple campaigns being built right now, is what I would say. And so
There you go.
there's not really a limit to what they could pump out with that. You could have 2 different things in here. You could have like a ODST thing, and you could have a Master Chief thing come out 6 months apart. Like they could do whatever that.
Stop being
they got the
cowardly.
budget.
Let us play as Locke. Screw you, Everborn. Let us play as
You
Locke.
all.
Not at first. Not
In
at
his
first.
own campaign, yes.
In his own campaign. Exactly. Thank you very much.
They
You know
should
what? Don't
stand alone.
Force me to play as Locke during a Chief
We can
campaign.
continue this conversation for days, and we will
Yeah, we could.
continue this conversation. But we're around 2 hours and 30 minutes. After this, we have some VRness we have to test out. So I think I will close this story out, and we will get to our outro.
I got one question real quick.
Please go ahead, man.
So with this game being so long, because it's a 10-year process, my question is, do we ever see, because they can branch out and create multiple stories within it, like we've been saying.
Yeah, within Infinite.
Now hear me out. This might sound crazy, but remember when they bought Bethesda? What if Doom Guy made a portal and came into Halo?
No.
What if all of a sudden the id Tech gets a version of Halo?
No.
No.
What if it really wants to make a version of Halo?
Listen, if you did a Quake game and you said that Doom Guy and Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix and Joanna Dark were all in that Quake arena shooter type of game, I could live with that, and that could be like the since Xbox is the shooter box, that could be their version of Smash.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Their characters.
It's an interesting thought process, yes.
And then what about the Flood? Did they say anything about the Flood and the Arbiter?
They haven't said anything, but I would be very surprised if the Flood doesn't show up at some point in this campaign.
What about the Arbiter? Because I do miss that guy. I miss playing as him.
Keith David better be in there. If he's not, I riot. I'll be by myself.
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely Keith David.
By myself.
If not with this one, at some point they've already
coming,
put hooks. They put hooks into and I had a little bit some spoilers from friends who played all the Halo Wars 2 DLC.
Mhm.
They've already put hooks into it for Flood, and so it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I think before we see those.
Okay.
See them again.
So we're gonna close this out because we're getting a little long, but 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think we really said what needed to be said. And knowing us, if you've seen this show on a few occasions, any excuse we have to bring
Slow-mo
the
says kill
Avengers
the
together.
Arbiter.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no,
Slow-mo
kill
wants
everybody.
everybody
Slow-mo.
He's trying to
dead,
kill them
man.
all.
Slow-mo with the slander, slow-mo.
So every chance we get to come out and go full-throated on Halo, we will. I love putting those in there. We will, and of course, while we're at the bottom of the barrel here, y'all are seeing this is my cheat round of what do you call
Cyberpunk.
it? Cyberpunk 2077. This is I've beaten the game. I threw on some cheats, and I'm like ripping people to shreds.
I really wish that the game didn't launch first of all, this game is not even fully launched yet, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
I wish that it like launched the way it was supposed to, because I do think they made something special here in terms of storytelling.
Yes,
and
it'll be
this
lost.
world they put together. And I feel like the game has become a meme at this point. And the people who know,
it's so good.
The people who know, like they did something really special here, and it sucks, and it's their own fault. But I do wish more people would experience it, and then that means more could be invested into it.
100%.
Because I would love to see more in this. I mean,
as we go, there is news that CDPR is saying they're continuing to invest. They'll be doing some polymorph stuff for the costumes. They're going to be changing a bunch of things around. They are investing like they were with The Witcher.
Blah.
Have you seen The Witcher, good sir? They're still updating The Witcher.
Yeah, The Witcher is selling.
I'll give them the benefit
only
of the
20
doubt.
million copies, though. That's all it's sold so far.
OBM, thank you so much, good sir, for joining us on this barn burner of an episode, as we want to do whenever Halo is mentioned. And you know damn well, as soon as they show a Halo keychain, we'll be right back at it again, talk about how amazing that keychain was. Thank you so much. Tell us where the people can find you, where they can keep up with all your writings on the internet, please.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks again for inviting me. I love talking gaming with you guys, especially Halo, but really gaming in general. We on and off the podcast. It's always a good time. You guys bring a lot of insight. You guys are always honest with your opinions. You're not trying to pander to anything. So it's always good just to kind of just to think about all the different possibilities with gaming, and it is an exciting time. It's really a time to I think if you've been a long time gamer like we have, no matter what platform you're on, it's a lot of fun to be involved in the industry right now. If people want to find me, I am a senior editor for XBoxEra. Hopefully I'll actually get I've had this Halo article that I put on pause for a bit because it's been about the campaign. I was putting it together even before this thing came out, so I want to try to get that out here soon. But if people don't know where XBoxEra is, just go check us out. It's xboxera.com. We have forums. They're growing. If people like to talk gaming without the trolling, and anybody's invited. It doesn't have to be Xbox, but obviously it's leaning Xbox there. Come join us in the forums. They also have a podcast that I've popped on a few times. We do have a Halo show, so anybody who's tuned in here because of the Halo topic, every bi-weekly we have a show called You Had Me at Halo, so that'll be in 2 weeks again, unless there's some breaking news next week, then maybe we'll have an emergency one. But yeah, guys, great times as always. Loved the conversations today. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining us again. Please, if you have not followed, if you're not even part of the XBoxEra community, you're doing it wrong, because those guys out there, they're really putting in good work. Every time I'm like in their chat, great podcast. They're dropping cool nuggets of information you're not sure of. You had me at Halo. I actually keep that in the background when I'm working. It's real fun. They get real deep as we want to do with Halo. So thank you so much for blessing us with your presence, and we appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon. And Mr. Drawn TJ, thank you so much for joining us. You know, we hope we'll see more of you online. You know, we see you've been on Boom Show. You're doing a few things here and there. Tell the fine people where they can find you, where they can strike up a conversation with you, and what else you're doing on the internet this week.
You can find me at DrawnTJ450 on Twitter, and you can follow me on my YouTube channel, which is DrawnTJ. And then also my Xbox gamer tag is DrawnTJ if you guys want to play games with me, especially when Halo Infinite comes out.
The man knows his Halo, bro. He's out there. I played with him a couple times. The man knows his Halo.
I love Halo.
He's putting in work on that Halo.
Nice.
So yes.
And it was an honor being on this show with all of you guys.
Oh, thank you. It was an honor
It was
having
nice
you.
to meet you,
Appreciate it.
man.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great to meet you.
And we'll definitely be doing
Thank you.
doing more of that. So, and the man is talking to you through his Xbox. So there's that. That is noteworthy.
Everybody try it. If you want to become a YouTuber, or if you want to try to become as big as Everborn and all these other guys, then try it through your Xbox. It's better than paying for a $3,000 PC. So it does work.
It works, yes. So we appreciate you definitely joining us and making your presence known in the community, you know. And Mr. Everborn Saga, we know that the Kickstarter is starting soon. Please continue to reiterate so that the community knows when to be engaged.
Yes.
Come on now.
I just put the link in the chat. I see there are about 20 people in here watching, but there are only 16 people following the project. Please follow it. It is just clicking a button, but it helps us on the day one launch. Please check that link and just
comment section.
Click. Yeah. Click notify me on launch, and that will it'll notify you the day we go live, which will be November 7th. But if everybody who's watching here it would be a great help if you could do that. Now, the other thing I will say is it looks like Mr. K. Asante has actually passed me in YouTube subscribers.
There he goes again.
And I would like to fix that post haste. So please, I would also ask you to go to Everborn Saga on YouTube and subscribe there if you are not already subscribed, because I don't want to hear this man's mouth.
The only mouth you hear is your own mouth. Good,
other
sir.
than that, and I like to stroke my ego.
Yeah, clearly.
But other than that, you can also find me at Everborn Saga everywhere, especially everbornsaga.com. And again, if you click the link at the top of the page at everbornsaga.com, it will take you straight to the Kickstarter page. So please check that out, and please check out the books that we have and the wares and all those things. Everborn Saga on Twitter, very active there. Try to follow everyone who follows me, unless you say some dumb shit. And Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam, also Everborn Saga. And I don't want to give out my social security number, so I'm not telling you how to find me on Nintendo. But yes, that's all I got. And please, again, click that link to be notified on the launch. It really, really helps.
I did it.
And that's it. I appreciate you, sir. So Drawn TJ, do it. What excuse do you guys have? And he's on a podcast joining from an Xbox. You can do it too. And I
subscribe to you, bro.
My man. You see?
There you go.
See, I'm gonna overtake K. Asante in no time.
Here we go. All right. Man. So again, thank you guys all so much for coming out. If you haven't liked the show, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, because we need to keep Mr. Everborn Saga on his toes as we move forward. Thank you so much for continuing to follow us. And yes, Erodimus, maybe we can convince Mr. Everborn Saga to watch Orville and do a show about it, because that is the timeless show, and he might actually be surprised.
Well, I mean, you said it was better than Dune.
It's wonderful to get his slander first and then have him watch it and then admit how wrong he was. We'll get there. It's fine. So before we go, I once again will reiterate, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Drawn TJ. Thank you, OneBadMutha, and of course, my brother, Mr. Everborn Saga. Couldn't do this without you. You make all of this so much better. So thank you guys always for checking out the show. You know, we've been doing this a while, and we're getting there. The branding's getting tighter. Everything's starting to look a little bit better. So we appreciate all those who continue to give feedback. For everybody who's retweeting and posting and getting more people to watch, we really, really appreciate y'all. So until next week, we will hit you once again with this really kick-ass outro that the Dutch has created for
And
us.
click the box to notify me on launch from the link.
Indeed.
Everybody hit the
God
like
damn it.
button for
Hit
this
the like
amazing
button,
podcast.
subscribe, and go hunt down that Kickstarter campaign because that
Yep.
story is worth watching. The story is worth reading when it's finishing because we're still on a cliffhanger. So go out there and do you, and we appreciate you. Until next week.